Let's make sure we're good everywhere. Are we active here? And Facebook is not quite on Facebook. Let me see what we got going on here. It says live, but I'm not seeing anything. Good morning over there on TikTok. Good morning, Mr. SA Cop. Let's see what we got going on Facebook. We're still trying to get Facebook going properly. Facebook gave me an issue. All right. I think we are. Yes, we are good on Facebook, finally. We are good on LinkedIn. We are active on Rumble Studio, YouTube, and X. We are good on Instagram. Good morning, Instagram. Good on TikTok. Shout yourselves out. Tell me your locations as y'all are checking in on TikTok. Tell me your locations. Are we good on X? Yes, we are good on X. Actually, let me check. Are we good on X? Yes, we are good on X. And today we're going to talk about, we're going to finish talking about a conversation that was so rudely interrupted by the system. I don't know if it was people or let's just say it was a system. The system over at TikTok, looking at you, TikTok, the system over at TikTok so rudely interrupted me when I was in the middle of talking about the Diddy trial 1 week and 1 day ago. I got interrupted because I quoted the title of a Chris Brown song one too many times and they didn't like it. But we're going to get into all of that here today. Atlanta is in the building. Mr. CJ, good morning over there. Let's see what we got going on TikTok. Shout yourselves out. Patty Ingram, good morning. With the first comment, congrats. Marky Man, good morning. California is in the building. Mississippi is in the building. Chicago, KB811, checking in from Chicago. Tell me where you are checking in from. Shout yourselves out in the comments over on TikTok. Shout yourselves out in the comments on TikTok. Carol Ann Collins from New York. Shout out to New York. Angelica, good morning to you. Tinfoil Tammy checking in from Kansas. Shout out to Kansas. Tony from Nashville, Tennessee. Shout out to Nashville. Palmetto PC Gamer from Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to Charlotte. I've been to all these places that y'all are pointing out. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Tennessee. Shout out to, actually, I haven't been to Mississippi, actually. I have been to, what was the other place? Chicago, I've been. New York, I've been. Kansas, I have been. Nashville, Charlotte, California, good morning. Traditional said, glad I'm back. Me too. I'm glad I'm back too. Angelica checking in from Jersey. Please like the live if y'all watching on TikTok. Y'all are on TikTok. Please like the live. Tap the screen. If you tap the screen, that makes the hearts come up at the bottom right corner. My son likes to see the hearts. He's not in here right now. I don't think he's gotten out of bed yet. I don't hear him. Didn't see him before I started my live stream this morning. But tap the screen so we can get the hearts going. This should be a 100K day easily in terms of the likes on TikTok specifically. Jersey, I have been to. Shout out to Jersey. Birmingham, Alabama. Have I been to Birmingham, Alabama? I don't think so. I don't think I've been to Birmingham. I'll put that on my list. So let's get into it because we got a lot to get to. A lot of things that I didn't finish getting to last time, and we didn't get to have a conversation about this, which I'm pissed off about. TikTok, I'm mad at you about that. And I don't mean y'all on TikTok. I mean the TikTok system for kicking me off in the middle of what I was saying. So let's finish what we were saying about this Diddy situation because right now Diddy is still sitting in MDC, which is the Manhattan Detention Center. He is still sitting in jail right now, awaiting sentencing because he did get convicted on 2 counts of the 5 counts that he was charged for that most of you probably remember about that. So Diddy was charged with 5 things during his trial, which lasted, how long did that trial last? About 8 to 10 weeks, something like that. There were 5 charges. The biggest charge was the full RICO charge, which might have put him away for 20 or more years, which pretty much would have been the rest of his life. And The sex trafficking charges he did not get hit on. He was not guilty of the sex trafficking charge, but he did get found guilty for the felony counts for illegal transportation for sex, which I didn't really like any of the case, just to be honest. I told y'all that from the beginning. I told y'all that from the beginning when the trial first started. I told y'all that in the middle of the trial multiple times. And I told you it last week when I was saying that it's good that he beat the biggest charge, but it's still messed up that he got found guilty on the charge he got found guilty on, and the fact that he was even on trial in the first place. And then we're going to get into that here today. And Angelica said, I'm disappointed in the Diddy verdict. That's okay. Fair enough. We're going to talk about it right here today. Let's talk about it because I didn't finish talking about it last week. So Diddy did, let's just say, all right, he is on trial. So let's just forget about he shouldn't have been. He was. He dodged the worst case legal scenario, but he still took a major hit in terms of, his public reputation was already looking bad because of the video of him, beating Cassie in front of the elevator. Everybody knows about that one. That one we know for sure happened. Everything else we got to go off of what people said. That one we know for sure because we saw the video. Now, Diddy's been doing what he's been doing for a long time, and a lot of Diddy's story is a warning shot for things that have happened with. We know things that have happened with men about women coming forward, especially men who have power, status, fame. They're known for having money. They're noted for having money, power, status, and fame. And somehow, some way, at least according to what we've heard or what we've been told, they are abusing their power. And Mr. C said, I think we need Diddy out right now. Well, he is out. He's in jail. How far out can he get? Other than not being alive, can't go anywhere else. So he's already in jail. But let's talk about this. We need to talk about this a little bit more because it needs to be discussed in more detail. And I'm going to take all the questions at the end, by the way. Number one thing that I think this case proves, despite the fact that Diddy was convicted on 2 of his 5 charges, that the Me Too movement is slowly coming to an end. I believe this to be true. I would celebrate this occurrence. The Me Too movement is slowly coming to an end. Now, why do I say that? Because this case with the 2 star witnesses between Cassie and Jane coming forward and saying this man did these. Well, they didn't really come forward. The feds came forward and they used these 2 women as their star witnesses in the case. And the whole case is based around Diddy, the man, this powerful man with all these resources. He was doing these terrible things, and we're going to make a case out of this. I said this every single time from the beginning of this case to the middle of this case. And now at the end of this, technically the end of this case, is that this federal investigative case was all about smearing this man's name based on domestic violence. That's what this was. This was a domestic violence case that was extrapolated into a RICO charge and these other charges that they threw on him just to make sure they got something. They charged him with all these different counts just to make sure they got something in the situation. This was a domestic violence case. That's what this was. Diddy was with Cassie for 10 years or so, and her career didn't really go anywhere because, again, this is just my personal opinion. TikTok, don't get mad at me. Is that please keep liking and live on TikTok. My personal opinion, I've said this over and over again. Cassie's not a very talented artist, and she broke up with Diddy 8 years ago, something like that. And have you heard a Cassie song since then? Did she lose her ability to sing? I don't think so. So Cassie's just not that talented of an artist. And if you're going to be with any person in the music industry who can make your career go, whether you have talent or not, Diddy would be a good person to stand next to. If I was trying to get on as a rapper, Diddy be a good person to be signed to, because even if I'm terrible at rapping, I'll probably get my album out and get a couple songs out there just because I'm standing next to the man who can make anything happen. So I don't think she's that talented of an artist, and I think her career reflects that. But this is not really about that. It's that the domestic violence that happened that we know is confirmed on video. He admitted to it on video, and obviously she had it happen to her. This is what the whole case is based around. This is a bad guy because he did this. This is a powerful guy. He has resources. He's been doing bad things. Then Cassie came out with the lawsuit. And basically, those of you who didn't read that lawsuit, y'all can find it. It's online. The lawsuit that Cassie came out with against Diddy, which was, when was that? About 2023? Maybe about either 23 or 24. Cassie comes out with the lawsuit against Diddy and basically has all these claims about terrible things that Diddy did to her during the time that they were together. And Cassie, and somewhat in that lawsuit, admits to things that she did wrong. But for the most part, she's accusing him of all these terrible things. And a lot of people read through the lawsuit. And here's the thing about a lawsuit as opposed to a criminal case. first of all, in a lawsuit, the burden of proof is more likely than not. Basically, 51% to 49%, you win a lawsuit. This is the reason why a lot of lawsuits get settled by the party who has more resources, because it's a 51-49 thing to lose a lawsuit, and it's very easy to lose a lawsuit if someone else is claiming victim and you already have this reputation as being this powerful individual who can pretty much do anything. That's Diddy. Cassie clearly has very little power. So her suing Diddy for $30 million, there was no way Diddy was going to win that case. They don't want to go through discovery. You don't want all this stuff coming out in testimony, sworn testimony anyway. Just pay her off and make her go away, which is exactly what Diddy did. He paid off that $30 million lawsuit for $20 million. So Diddy gives Cassie $20 million, let's say a few years after breaking up with her, after she started dating and then subsequently marrying and then subsequently having 2 kids, now 3 kids, with the personal trainer that Diddy hired for her. Y'all caught all that? So while Diddy was with Cassie, he hired her a personal trainer. Those of you who know what Cassie looks like, Cassie is a good-looking woman. Now, Diddy hired her a personal trainer to keep her in shape, which was important. And the personal trainer he hired was a guy named Alex. And any of you know anything about the fitness industry, especially men working with women as personal trainers, is that it becomes kind of like a therapeutic relationship. Even men working with men and women working with women, because you're with the trainer is seeing your body. They're helping you with your body, which is something that is very personal and intimate to human beings. And you tend to get to talking to them. You talk to them about your life, you talk to them about your family, about your kids, what you have going on. They just become somewhat of a therapist and a friend simply because of the intimacy of the relationship when you're helping another person with their body. And Cassie naturally starts talking to this man, this personal trainer, this guy, Alex. I suppose somehow, some way, I don't know all the details of this. Maybe there's a story out there. They fall in love and they start dating each other. And it appears, according to what was, not appears, we know this happened. During the testimony that Cassie gave on the stand during this federal trial, there was a time when Cassie was starting to mess with this dude, the personal trainer, but she was still with Diddy and doing the, as they called them, the freak offs. These are the orgies, the sex parties, whatever you want to call this, that Diddy is doing with Cassie. And at one point, the dude, Alex, who is now her boyfriend, I'm guessing boyfriend, he FaceTime calls Cassie. I'm assuming this is his boyfriend now, because if he was just calling as a personal trainer, he probably could have sent a text message or just a voice call. He did a FaceTime call. If you're a man and you FaceTime call a girl, I'm assuming that y'all are either dating or y'all are really best friends or something like that. He FaceTime calls her. She's in a bed with Diddy. This is testified in court. TikTok, don't kick me off. This is testified in court. She's in a bed with Diddy in the midst of one of these freak offs. He, the guy she's dating, that eventually becomes her husband and the father of her children, he is FaceTime calling her. Now, why does this matter? This matters because she was still dating this. She was dating and messing with this dude, and I guess starting to build a relationship while she was still doing the stuff with Diddy. And he obviously had to know about this because, again, I just told you, a relationship between a personal trainer and a client becomes very intimate and it can become very personal. Not like they always have to date just because you're training somebody, but it can become very intimate. And clearly, this dude, Alex, knew what she was into, because what the hell else was Cassie doing? For that 10 years, again, Cassie signed to Diddy as an artist, right? And she put out the song. What was that song called she first came out with? Me and You. And it was a catchy tune. The song had a catchy tune, but Cassie's not a good singer. So that's why they didn't go anywhere. And what else was she doing for the next 10 years? Does somebody answer that question? I'm actually asking people in the chat. What was Cassie doing to that time? And someone asked what happened to my last life. I got kicked off of TikTok for using a phrase from Chris Brown's song too many times. I was in jail. I was in TikTok jail for the last week. So what was Cassie doing during the 10 years that she was with Diddy? That's my question to you all. I'm asking this question to frame this. This man, the personal trainer, Alex, her husband now, did he know what she was into? Or was she keeping it a secret? And again, if she was keeping it a secret, what did she tell him she was doing? Now, if you live down here in South Florida, for example, I'll tell you all a funny little tongue-in-cheek anecdote. You meet a woman out here who is living in some high-rise condominium or luxury apartment building, and you know how much it costs because maybe you live there too, or you live in the neighborhood, and you meet her, you start talking to her. This is common. This has been going on for 15 years. I've been in South Florida for a long time. I can go back 15 years and tell you stories. I meet a girl in the gym. I remember I met this girl in the gym one day. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The gym is usually quiet 2 in the afternoon. I'm in like the fitness room jumping rope, because this is back when I was still playing ball. And there's a girl in there. She's doing like stretches and stuff. And I notice her. I start talking to her, whatever. And she lives in the neighborhood. Now, to live in this neighborhood is not cheap. I asked her what she does for a living. Anybody know the answer to the question? Now, actually, let me tell you a little bit more context for y'all answer, because some of y'all know the answer. So before you answer, let me tell you the rest of the context. Good looking girl in really good shape physically. That's why I noticed her and started talking to her. And again, it's the middle of the afternoon. And she was, again, I was physically attracted, and there was mutual interest. So we started talking. And it ain't really nothing there as far as though intellectually and anything of substance up here. I could tell within about 5 minutes of talking to her. I asked her what she does for a living. What do you think her answer was? I'm not asking what she actually did. I'm asking, what do you think she said she did? Anybody know the answer? What did she say she was doing for a living? What did she say her job was? Any of you who lives in LA, maybe New York, definitely if you live in Miami, Vegas, y'all know the answer. Jose got the answer. Jose knows. I'm asking what she said her answer was, not what she actually was doing, but what she said she did. Jose got the question. Jose got it right. Most of y'all don't know. Most of y'all ain't been around in these areas enough. Says she was in real estate. This is common. Real estate. All right. Anytime if you're in Miami and you meet a girl who's really attractive and you ask her what she does for a living and she says real estate, all right. Real estate, you're not doing real estate, baby. When's your next? What was your last listing? Show me the last listing you landed. She ain't doing no real estate. This woman was a dancer. She was a stripper, and that's fine. I later found out that she did a little bit of that too. I think she told me real estate because it was like her surface level answer. But once we started, we ended up meeting up and hanging out and stuff like that. And once we started having conversations, she saw that I wasn't really judgmental about whatever it was that she was doing. She kind of came clean and told me a little bit more about her background, et cetera, et cetera. She was not in real estate, but real estate's a common one that you get, especially down here. Everybody's in real estate. All of y'all ain't doing no damn real estate. Ain't that much real estate to sell. But anyway, I'm saying all that to say, and some of you said, hold on, let me go back to some of y'all answers. So some of y'all need to get out the house more. And so let me see. Mr. Ohio J said Instagram models. See, a lot of women don't admit to that, Mr. Ohio J. Now, this is before Instagram models. This is like 2013. This is before Instagram models was a common business. And a lot of women who are Instagram models for a living don't say that they are. They'll say influencer, maybe. Palmetto says school. No. Palmetto, you got to come down to Miami. Nobody claims to be going to school. KB dancer. She was a dancer, but she wouldn't tell you she's a dancer. Women are not going first. When they first meet a man out in the street, they're not going to say I'm a dancer. Unless if they meet you in the club, they'll tell you that. They won't tell you that if they meet you at the grocery store, because there's a stigma around being a dancer. Travis said influencer. Yeah, nowadays people might say that, but even then, that sounds kind of fishy. So people usually give you something that sounds like more something you could say to your mom. You can't tell your mom you're an influencer. She doesn't know what that means. So people will say something like real estate or I'm in finance, and men will often tell you they're in finance. I met this dude. It was this white dude. I remember he was a neighbor of mine. Every time I seen him, he's just walking around doing a whole bunch of nothing. And he had saw me in the gym one day, like hitting a punching bag. There's a punching bag in the building. And he was like, man, I saw you doing this early in the morning. And he was kind of complimenting me a little bit. And we just chatted for a second. I said, what do you do? He asked me what I did. He asked me what I did. I told him, and I asked him what he did. He said, I'm in finance. I was like, mofo, you ain't in no damn finance. I don't know what he did, but it wasn't finance. Whatever he was talking about. Model is another one. Shorty, a lot of people don't say that they're a model because, again, now it's the subject has become so broad. What does it mean? What kind of model? Instagram model? You're a runway model? You've been in Vogue? What kind of model are we talking? Art said escort. Nobody admits to being an escort. She probably was, but she didn't admit it. Animated Tyler said blue contacts or natural eye color. Where are people seeing blue? My eyes are not blue. And no, I don't wear blue contacts. Somebody asked me that like last week. Do my eyes look blue? I don't know why. There's nothing. I don't know if I have any blue around here. Maybe it's just a reflection of the light on my eyes. But no, my eyes are not blue. And I'm not wearing blue contacts. KB said waitress. No, nobody would say that. Ashley said, does she do it online? Do what online? What are you referring to? All right, so let me get back to what I was saying. So this guy knew exactly what kind of life she was living had babies with her, and made her into his wife. Now, here's one of the things that came out in testimony. For those of you who didn't read the court testimony or hear the recaps of the testimony in court, because this is a federal case, you couldn't have cameras or recording devices in the courtroom, but there were reporters in there who were basically writing down everything that got said, and then they would report about it after that. And Cassie would be doing the freak off with Diddy. Now, I'm bringing this all. This is all centered around Cassie. Cassie would be doing the freak off with Diddy. And the way it would work is they would hire an escort. Cassie was actively involved in this. She was choosing the escorts that she liked because she was the one putting the work in. Like, Diddy wasn't touching the men. The men were touching Cassie, and Diddy would watch. Did y'all read the testimony? This is what would happen. Diddy would be sitting in the corner of the room. Cassie and the escort would be doing whatever they're doing, and Diddy would be telling them what to do. So Diddy was like the director of the film. He's like Sterling Hitchcock. He's sitting there telling you what to do. You do this, you do that. Or for more contemporary, those who don't know who that is, he was Tyler Perry. Except he wasn't Medea. He wasn't acting. He was just sitting in the director's chair telling everybody else what to do. He would tell the escort what to do to Cassie. Mind you, this is his girl. He would tell the escort what to do to Cassie, and the escort would do it because he's doing it. I mean, this is his job. He's getting paid. The escort, and this is, again, testimony. TikTok, don't get mad at me. This is sworn testimony. The escort would finish his business on Cassie. Okay, fine. What you want to do behind closed doors. Then Cassie and Diddy, so then they would leave the escort in that room. Cassie and Diddy would go into a different room. Pay attention. And Diddy would take, or he would instruct, he would either take or instruct Cassie to take the finish of the escort, the specimen, and smear it on his chest. I'm going to take a sip of water. I just want to this is all testified in court, folks. This is not a story. This is not from the streets. This is testified in court. This is what they were doing. Now, I'm saying all that to say this. Do you think Cassie, and mind you, when Cassie was testifying, because when Cassie testified, she was pregnant, right? She was like 8 or 9 months pregnant. She gave birth like a week after she stopped. Cassie was the first witness in this court case, this Diddy case that just ended. And she was like 8 or 9 months pregnant. And as soon as she finished testifying, like the next week, she gave birth. This is her third child. She got 3 kids with this man. He was in the courtroom when she was giving her testimony. Of course he is. I mean, she's pregnant. She's 9 months pregnant. Of course, you're going to be with your wife when she's about to give birth. He sat in the courtroom and listened to all of this testimony. Now, here's what I want to know. Here's my question to all of you. Do you think he already knew all this stuff, or do you think he was just finding out in court? So give me in the comments. Already knew, or it was news to him. Put news if you think it was news when she testified on the stand, and put already knew if he already knew this stuff before she got on the stand. And he married her and had 3 kids with her. This guy, her current husband. Palmel said, I don't know how he could have listened to it. Well, he had no choice but to listen to it. She swore on the Bible to tell the whole truth. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Crespo Realty, you said he already knew. I think he already knew. I think he already knew before. Now, there's 2 different kind of ways he could have known. He could have known because Cassie's like, hey, honey, I got to take the stand and I got to tell the whole truth. And they're going to ask me these questions. So let me tell you everything up front so that when you hear it in court, it's not news to you. Maybe she told him like a week before, so he wasn't surprised. I think she told him about this way back before she even sued Diddy. I think he just knew exactly how she was living, and he decided that he wanted to save her. Remember that song? Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Don't save her. She don't want to be. He saved her. All right. He decided to save her. That's what he wanted to do. He saved her. All right. So he goes and saves her. And he has 3 kids with the chick. And mind you, they got married and got together and all that. I remember when, I don't follow celebrity gossip that much, but I remember when Diddy and Cassie had broke up. It was like trending news that Diddy and Cassie had broke up. And when Diddy and Cassie broke up, it wasn't but maybe 3 months. It wasn't even that long. It was shortly after I heard the news that Diddy and Cassie broke up. Actually, I don't even know if I even heard the news, because you know they always got these rumors like these people broke up and you don't really know. What I heard, the thing that caught my attention, because I don't follow any of these mofos on the internet, but I saw something that said Cassie is pregnant and either engaged to be married or pregnant. It was one or the other, because a lot of people have been talking about Diddy and Cassie for years, when these celebrities are together and then they never get married or they never have kids. And people be like, oh, or a lot of women will say something like, why has this man got this woman in this relationship all this time? He won't marry her. He won't put a ring on her, et cetera, et cetera. People say that all the time about any couple that's together. So I heard the news that Cassie was either married or she was having a baby. It was one or the other. And it was trending news because people were like, oh, Cassie is married to having a baby. First thought when I saw it was, oh, she's married to having a baby to Diddy. It wasn't Diddy. It was a different dude. I was like, I didn't know she even broke up. I didn't know she wasn't with Diddy anymore. So she's with another dude, and she's either about to get married or about to have a baby, whichever one it was. And Diddy posted something on social media like, congratulations to her for, you got to not look bitter. So congratulations to her for getting with the guy or having a baby, whatever the situation was. And then people were making these like sarcastic comments like, yeah, she was with Diddy for 10 years and didn't get none of that. She'd been with this dude for 6 months and she already pregnant and she already getting married. So when that came out, I believe he already knew everything that was going on. Then this happens. They get married. They have babies, right? This is her third kid with the guy. So this has been some time. She decides 5 years later, I'm going to sue Diddy for all the stuff that he did to me. Okay. Let's say you want to sue him for all the stuff he did. Okay, fine. She sues him. Diddy knows he can't win the case. And Diddy probably also knows that he read through that court case. He read through that lawsuit and said, damn, she's telling a whole lot of truth in here. Let me not let this get out any further. Let me make this go away as quickly as possible. Because, mind you, when a lawsuit like that comes out, it doesn't have to be publicized. Y'all know that, right? You don't have to publicize a lawsuit like that. Please get the likes up on TikTok. Let's get up to 20,000 likes, folks. Please like the live on TikTok. Like the live on TikTok. Get my likes up, please. Don't make me pull a Kevin Samuels on y'all. I will do it. I don't want to, but I will. All right, get the likes up, folks. Like the live. So 5 years later, she decides to sue Diddy for the $30 million. Diddy looks at it and says, damn, she's telling too much truth in here. Let me settle this lawsuit. So he pays the lawsuit. They settle for 20. She sued for 30. He paid 20. She has $20 million. This also came out in the lawsuit. Check this out. That when she first broke up with Diddy, Cassie, her and her new man, the trainer, Alex, they moved back to her parents' house in, I believe, Connecticut, which is where she's from. Cassie's from, I believe the state was Connecticut, Vermont, one of them states up there. They moved back to her parents' house in Connecticut. Cassie at this point is what, maybe 30? And he's probably somewhere around that age, maybe a little bit older. Why'd they move back to her parents' house? Because neither one of them had any money. Cassie had no money. This guy had no money. And so she married a guy who didn't have any money. She went from Diddy to a guy who had no money, who saved her, I guess, from Diddy, knowing what she was doing, knowing the life she was living. They go move into her parents' house. She decides years later, let me go sue Diddy and get paid. She sues Diddy, gets $20 million. She sued the hotel that had the footage where she got her ass beat, and they gave her 10. That one I actually get. I don't have a problem with her suing the hotel, because the hotel, they didn't do their responsibility. You're working security at a hotel. You see somebody getting domestically beat. You see domestic violence. You're supposed to report that, call the cops. They didn't do that. They deserve to have to pay that 10. That part I get. Her suing Diddy for the 20 or the 30 and getting 20. I mean, if you want to sue somebody, you can sue them. America's the most litigious society in America. So Cassie collected $30 million from this trauma that she went through. Okay, fine. All right, all that I'm saying fine. I would question some of it, but I can, from Cassie's perspective, I can say, all right, cool. That's what you want to do. Cool. Let's continue. The feds come to her and say, listen, you are implicated in these same things we're about to get Diddy for. All right, we're about to get Diddy for a RICO charge. We're about to get Diddy for these sexual crimes, this transportation, this prostitution, et cetera, et cetera. You are his number one co-conspirator because you was right there with him doing it. That's what the feds said to Cassie. You were right there with him doing it. Mind you, a RICO charge, folks, is a conspiracy charge. And for those of you who don't understand the legal terms, if there's a conspiracy, there must be more than one person. One person cannot commit a conspiracy crime by themselves. They have to have at least one other person with them. So usually when there's a RICO charge, it's one person and then there's multiple people with them that are also charged in the situation, unless you get a situation like this where there's a RICO charge against several people and then some of those people flip. They decide, in other words, if all of us go tell on the one main person, that we can get less time or a lower sentence for cooperating with the state or with the federal government. And that's basically what Cassie did. Cassie flipped. She was granted immunity. In other words, you get on the stand and you confess to all the things that you were doing that technically could be looked at as criminal, we're not going to charge you with any of it because you're helping us out by helping us get the person we really want to get, which is Diddy. So they got a RICO charge against one person, which doesn't make any sense. All right, the feds overreached on this. Don't go RICO charge against one person. All right, and then Cassie is the main person flipping on Diddy, which is fine if that's what you want to do. The problem is, and this came out in court testimony, for those of you who didn't read or listen to the people reading back the testimony, is that she was actively engaged in this stuff. So the men, a bunch of these men who were the escorts, a bunch of them have been getting interviews. I don't know if y'all saw this. So if y'all go on, who's been interviewing them? Y'all know Vlad TV. He's interviewed a few of them. Who else had them on? It was some other, I think the Breakfast Club had one of the guys on. But all these dudes who were called to testify about what their involvement was in this escort business, many of them have been given interviews, and they all have clearly said the same thing. Cassie was the one calling me. Cassie was the one texting me. Cassie was the one paying me the money. Cassie was the one looking at me and saying, no, I don't like that guy, get that guy. Cassie was the one doing this. And there's a bunch of text messages that shows Cassie was texting with Diddy and saying, all right, we're going to have another, whatever they were calling it, party, whatever. And Cassie would say something like, no, I didn't like that dude, but I like this dude. Or I don't want this dude for this one. Let's have this guy come for this one. She was picking and choosing these dudes. Now, some say, well, she was under Diddy's control, so that's why she did it. Did y'all hear the text messages? Did y'all see the text messages that were being read? Don't sound like this was 100% she was just being mind controlled. If she was being mind controlled the entire time for this 10 years where they were doing these parties, Diddy should be a damn, I don't know, he's wasting his talent making songs. He should be doing something else. All right, Diddy should be a damn, he should be like Miss Cleo, just taking psychic readings. Diddy could be making a lot more money doing something else if he's that good at controlling another person's mind. He should get into politics. He should buy Amazon. He should own Walmart. He should own everything. All right, if he can mind control a person that well to where she was doing the things that she was doing and saying the things that she was saying, the way she was saying it for 10 years, Diddy is the greatest, what do you even call this? A mentalist? Yeah, Diddy's like the greatest mentalist of all time. All right. There's no way. It's like the Future song. Ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way. Ain't no way. That is what he was. That's what Diddy was just mind controlling her the whole time. No. She was engaged in this. She was involved, which is why there shouldn't have been a RICO charge. I'm saying all that to say there shouldn't have been a RICO charge because she was a part of it. Now, who's the RICO? Unless you're going to charge her as well. They didn't charge her because they all wanted to get Diddy, which we know. Okay, I'm saying all that to say this. Let's continue. All that goes on. The feds call her to the stand. She gets on the stand and testifies against Diddy. She's a female. I understand. She testifies against Diddy. All that being said, I can understand everything Cassie did up to this point. Gets with the man. He saves her, sues Diddy, gets her $20 million, gets her 10 from the hotel. The feds say you got to testify or we're going to charge you. She goes and testifies. I get all of that. Cassie, I understand all of those things. Not what I would have did, but I understand. Here's the part that I don't even know what word I want to use for this. Here's the part I want to put into question. After the verdict was read, not guilty on the RICO, guilty on 2, not guilty on 3. So at this point, now Diddy is thinking, I'm going to go home because he could be let out before sentencing. Sometimes if you're convicted of a crime, then the sentencing is not for another 90 days, like with Diddy's. They say, all right, you can go home with supervision, or maybe you got to be on house arrest, or you can't leave the country, or you can't leave the state, or you got to stay in this area, whatever. There are stipulations, but they usually let you out, especially if you have no priors. Mind you, Diddy has no priors. He has a clean criminal record. It may not seem like it, but he does. Diddy has no prior convictions on anything on his record. So someone with no prior convictions who gets a charge like this and a conviction like this, usually they let you go home and not be in jail until the sentencing. You come back to sentencing, and if they send you to jail, you go right to jail. If you don't, you don't. That's usually what happens. But after this ended, of course, the feds say you shouldn't let Diddy out, and they should because this is their case. Their case is trying to get him in jail. They argue to the judge because the judge gets to decide, for those of you who don't know. The judge gets to decide whether you get to go home or you got to stay in jail until I sentence you, even if it's 90 days away. So that's 90 extra days in jail for no reason. I mean, it's not no reason, but let's just say. So the feds say, no, don't let him out. Don't let him out because he could go in and be a menace to society because look at all these things that he even admitted to in court, like the domestic violence. And it looks like that he might have blown up somebody's car and he broke into somebody's house maybe. And he did all these bad things. And half of them he admitted to, like domestic violence, et cetera, et cetera. So they shouldn't let him out. So the feds say what they're supposed to say. Diddy's lawyers say he has no priors. He will just agree that he'll only go to this place and this place because he has a house in Miami. He got a house in LA. He's got a house in New York. So he'll only go to his houses and he'll only go to these towns and whatever else you say, Judge, but just let him out so he can be free and he can live his life. I mean, technically, this guy has no criminal record. Why would you not let him out? Okay, they both did what they're supposed to do. The defense is arguing for the defense and the prosecution is arguing for the prosecution. This is all fine and good. This is normal process in court. This is what's supposed to happen. Here's the part that caused me to bring up Cassie. She had her lawyer write a letter to the judge arguing to keep him in jail. Why'd you have to do that? Y'all tell me. Why'd she have to do that? Her lawyer, this is the day that the verdict is read. Nobody knows what the verdict is going to be. Like, what if the verdict was guilty on everything? She wouldn't have to say anything. He'd go straight to jail. What if the verdict was not guilty on everything? Nothing she can say because he's out. He's free. He won the case. He gets his freedom back. He walks out of there. But because you got this in between, now everybody gets to make their argument as to what should happen and why. Why did she have her lawyer write that letter? Keep him in jail because he did this, he could be a threat to other people, et cetera, et cetera. And some of you are saying, who's going to enjoy Lady Di? I don't know what you mean. I don't think she was in pain. Palmetto says she was scared. Vivian says she's afraid for her life. Missy says she was scared. So a lot of you think that she was scared. Okay. So she was scared of what? What is she scared of? And at what point did she do something that would make her think that Diddy might try to do something to her? When? She already sued him for $30 million. He paid her. She wasn't scared then because he didn't go to jail immediately. She sued him for $30 million. He paid 20. He just paid her 20. They were together for 10 years. He got with, she started dating and married and had kids with the personal trainer that he hired for her. He didn't do nothing to her then. She goes and has 3 kids with the dude. He does nothing then. He starts dating Daphne, Jane. Nothing happens then. And she sues him for 30. He pays off 20. Nothing happened then. Now, all of a sudden, she's scared of what? What's going to happen? What is he going to do? What is he going to do? Now, all of a sudden, she's scared. And she writes a letter. My issue with the whole thing is that letter. All the other things that she or on her behalf happened, I understand. Again, I may not necessarily agree, but I understand. This one, the letter was a kick in the groin when you already got the man down. And again, it'd be one thing if the only relationship they had was just him being terrible to her. But y'all was together for 10 years. He signed you. He put your song out. We know who you are because of him. He signed you. He put your song out. Your career didn't take off. Y'all were together for 10 years. You left. Get with the guy that he introduced you to. You're married to a man that he introduced you to and hired to help you. You go behind his back and date the dude and marry him and have 3 kids with him. Now, you're afraid that he's going to do something to you? That's a little extra to me. I mean, I can understand if you want to make an argument on the other side. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling her doing that. I'm just not feeling it. And the reason I'm saying, and I understand it was domestic violence, I get it. But at the same time, she was engaged. Did y'all listen? Did y'all read the court testimony? She would engage in it too. It's very rare that a man takes a woman to court for domestic violence. That's not a thing. If a man tries to take a woman to court for domestic violence, there's a fat chance he's going to win. That's a 1 in 100 thing. She was engaged in the domestic violence too. She would do stuff too. Now, the video we saw of him beating her. Now, we know that he could probably beat her a lot more than she could beat him. But she would do stuff. She would hit him. She would throw stuff at him. They would have these, and this is all in the testimony, that there were other people who saw this stuff happen. They would see her throwing stuff at him, hitting him, attacking him because they're arguing and talking shit. Some relationships is just like this, that people just get physical with each other when they get done being verbal. This is how Diddy's relationship was. I'm saying all that to say, the Chris Brown song. All right, the Chris Brown song that I can't say the name of because TikTok told me I can't say it anymore. I got suspended for a week for continuing to say it. Anybody know the name of the Chris Brown song that I'm referring to? It's a 4-word title. And it uses the term, a lot of people say 304s now. That's what the new thing that people say, 304s instead of saying the actual word. This thing, I believe that what's coming up, this is what I believe is going to come. And this is not just about Diddy, it's about everything. The 304s are going to start facing social accountability. This is going to happen. Social accountability. They're not going to face legal accountability, but social accountability is coming. And this is why I said the Me Too movement is going to end. The Me Too movement is going to come to an end. I was never a fan of the Me Too movement for one simple reason, or Me Too / believe all women. I'm not a fan of these movements. Let's just merge them together and call it Me Too. I'm not a fan of this because believe all women really was not about believing women. It was about blaming men. That's what the movement was about. When you heard the phrase believe all women, what it really meant was blame all men. And if you're a man who has power, status, resources, and a name, and you get accused of something by a woman, then you are automatically guilty. It wasn't about the woman. It wasn't about the woman. Name one of the women in Harvey Weinstein's case. Name one. Don't nobody know. Name one of the women in Harvey Weinstein's case. Say her name, her actual name. Anybody know? Nobody knows. Without Googling, you don't know her name. Name one of the women who accused Russell Simmons, who's right now, last I heard, he was in the country of Bali because it's non-extradition. He's probably never coming back. Name one of the women. Anybody know? Without Googling. Can you name one? Name one of the women in the R. Kelly case. Say her name, her actual name. Anybody know? Nobody knows. Nobody can name any of these people. And the point being that believe all women / Me Too is not about the woman. None of you can even name any of the women, but you know all of these men and you know what all of them went down for or got accused of. Every one of you knows what all of them got accused of. All you know what they all went down for. Name one of the women to Bill Cosby, Russell Simmons, R. Kelly, Diddy we can name because we know Cassie, right? Who else? Name one. None of you can name even one person. So if it's about the women, then why don't you know her name? Why doesn't nobody know who she is? Nobody knows. Because the movement was not about women. The movement was about men. And listen, let me be clear. Because I know some of you are staunchly disagreeing with what I'm saying right now. Hear me out. That it doesn't mean that the man is completely innocent. It doesn't mean that the man can't be wrong. It doesn't mean the man could not have done something wrong. And it does not mean he could not be guilty of what he was accused of or what he is or could be in the future accused of. Doesn't mean he can't be. The problem that I have with believe all women and Me Too, especially the concept of believe all women, is just because a woman comes forward with an accusation, that means that the man does not get his day in court, does not get to have his say, and that people are automatically influenced to believe that he must be wrong simply because a woman accused him due to the fact that he has this power, status, wealth, notoriety, that he must be guilty because look at all the power he has. Look at how little power she has. There's no way that she could be not telling the truth. There's no way he couldn't have just been on the up and up and this couldn't have just been a relationship that went bad. He has to have done something wrong. That concept I'm against. I'm against the idea of that. That's what I'm saying. And I believe that slowly but surely there is going to be less and less of this. And this is one of the things that I'm saying on the heels of what happened with Diddy. Because had he got convicted on all counts, this would have been a strengthening point for that concept that I'm against. But since he didn't get convicted on all counts, and who knows, he may end up walking out of there after his sentence, depending on how much time the judge gives him, that this is going to be a bunch of people saying, oh, well, this is a loss for victims of DV. This is a loss for anyone who has been traumatized by a powerful, successful, notable man. So people are saying it the other way. Hi, son. It's moving. See? Yeah, you want me to fix it? Yeah. Okay. Are you going to come up here? We got the hearts. We got the hearts here today. Huh? Hearts. You see the hearts? Yeah, I see them. Yeah, the hearts are back. 1 second, everybody. I got to do some maintenance work on my son's toy. Can you say hi to people on TikTok? Hi, TikTok. All right, there you go. All right, good. All right, see you later. So, see you later. All right, see you later. So this whole thing of accountability goes in all directions, folks. Accountability is not just one direction. And just because somebody has status, wealth, fame, power, notoriety, money, whatever, does not mean that they're necessarily wrong just because someone accused them. But this is one of the trade-offs of being in a leadership position, in a powerful position, is that other people can accuse you of stuff, and you are by default, many people are going to assume that you did something wrong just because of the imbalance of power between you and the other person. And this is one of the trade-offs. I'm not even saying there's anything necessary that can be done about this, but this is one of the trade-offs. As far as Mr. Alex, Cassie's husband, listen, If you're into what you're into, all right, you like what you like. I say with him, this is what I'm not with him, but I say for all men who are listening to this, show me the Carfax. I'm gonna take a sip of water while y'all consider what that means. Get my likes up. Let's get up to 40,000 likes, folks. I say show me the Carfax. I just want show me the Carfax. I believe Mr. Alex, Cassie's husband, I believe he saw the Carfax and he said, yeah, this is the car that I want. I want to drive this car. I want to drive this car off the lot today, Mr. Automobile salesperson. All right, that's what you want to do. Okay. Show me the Carfax. All right, the men out there, show me the Carfax. All right. Anytime you're out here in these streets, on these internet streets, real life streets, show me the Carfax. Okay. Shannon Sharp, another one. Good example. So Diddy, here's where we got to hold Diddy accountable. You want to talk about accountability? Let's talk about Diddy. Diddy surrounded himself with women who are on some level mentally, emotionally unstable / traumatized enough that they would go along with the shit that he was into. Diddy was into some wild things. I think we can agree to that. Diddy's into some wild things, and he found women who are willing to go along with it. Is it because of his power? Is it because of his money? Is it because of his status? I think that has something to do with it. Absolutely. But also, these women had to have something in their minds that allowed them to be open to this, regardless of how much he had. Because I would bet, actually, let me ask a question. The ladies who are in here listening, would you have lived the lifestyle that Cassie and Daphne were living with Diddy if you had to do what they had to do to get it? How many of you, just give me a yes or a no, would you do it? I'm interested to see if there's any yeses in here, but yes or no, ladies who are listening to this, would you have taken Diddy up on the offer? Listen, I'll finance your lifestyle. I will pay your rent. All right, you're going to live a rich life like me. You get to go to all the Floyd Mayweather fights. I was watching a replay of a Floyd Mayweather fight. I forget who he was fighting. I think it was the Canelo fight, one of those fights, and they showed Diddy in the crowd and sitting right next to him, Cassie, looking beautiful. Would you accept this? Any woman would do this. Addie Washington said yes. Addie Washington, are you a woman or a man? All right, so everybody's saying no. Would any of you have accepted this lifestyle of I'm gonna pay for your lifestyle? We're flying private everywhere. I can get into any place. Money is not a consideration for anything. Anything you want, I can buy. Anywhere you want to go, I can call my plane and we can fly. Everything's taken care of. You don't ever have to think about money ever again. All you got to do in exchange for what I'm offering you is once a week or however often he wants to do it, you got to come and do these sex parties. Any of you would be okay. Any of you would do that. Who would sign up for this lifestyle? Grill said Cassie was 19, very impressionable at that age. 19 is a legal adult. So nobody said yes. I didn't hear anybody say yes yet. Anybody do this? There's no women in here who would do this. So a bunch of the men in here are saying people are just saying no. So Sasha says no. Crespo says she probably has diseases from this lifestyle. So nobody's saying yes. Nobody would do this. J-Day said these women lying. I don't think everybody's lying. But Diddy found two women, very attractive women, who were willing to go along with this. So there are women out there who will say yes to this. Diddy found some women who had something going on in their head that they said this is a good idea. All right, that this is a good idea that they would go along with this. Sabrina said yes. Sabrina said she would do it. All right, so we got one woman who says she would do it. Now, Diddy and all the things that he was doing, he was moving a little bit reckless. I do believe he was moving reckless. I think his biggest mistake in this whole situation was not even what he did at the elevator, beating up his girlfriend. That wasn't the biggest mistake. The biggest mistake was that he chose the wrong girl. He chose a girl who I call Cassie, because there were some audios that came out. I don't know if y'all heard these audios of Cassie talking to some dude who she thought had video of her doing something that she didn't want to come out, like one of these sex videos. She thought the guy had the video and she was threatening this guy and basically talking shit to him. And if you listen to Cassie talking that video, she sounds it was very aggressive. If you look at Cassie's, her public persona, for lack of a better term, she's very soft, seems like a very quiet type of girl. And she went along with Diddy for 10 years. I barely heard the woman speak. For 10 years, she was with Diddy. You saw her, but you didn't hear her. She was sounding very aggressive here. And she's what I call aggressive, submissive aggressive is what I call her. Submissive aggressive. She's a woman who is submissive, but then if she feels wronged or that submission flips, that she can be just as aggressive as she is submissive. That's the reason why she sued Diddy for $30 million. She could just sue the hotel, got it $10 million. I mean, take the 10. You good with 10? She could just sue the hotel, got her 10 and been good. But she had to go get another 30 from Diddy, what ended up being 20. This is submissive aggressive. Had he just been doing all the same stuff with Daphne, the other witness, I think Diddy would have been good because she seems submissive. That she stays in a submissive mode. She's still getting her rent paid by Diddy to this very day. After sitting there listening to what Cassie testified about, all the stuff that Cassie said they did, all the stuff that Diddy's lawyers basically admitted that Diddy was doing with Cassie, then he goes and gets with her. He's paying her rent still to this day. She testified somewhat against him or for the feds, not really that strongly against him, just testify. And she's still getting her rent paid. She's good. After everything that she heard on the stand, she's good. And again, Daphne is a pretty girl. And those of you who don't know what she looked like, you can Google her. Pretty girl. What I'm saying is Diddy should have just went with her from the beginning. You see, Diddy just picked the wrong girl. This is Diddy's main mistake. If I'm talking to Diddy, like, dude, you just chose the wrong girl. I get why you chose Cassie. She's pretty, but you chose the wrong girl. Because look what she turned around and did. First, she went and married the dude that you hired to help her up. Anyway, let's continue. So the criminal enterprise that he allegedly was running, there was no criminal enterprise. This made no sense. I said this in the middle of the trial. It made no sense for him to have a RICO charge. You can't say that Bad Boy or whatever Combs Enterprise or whatever they were labeling his company. You can't say that that is a criminal enterprise when the dude literally is fucking famous for making music and doing dances and acting and having songs, and he's on TV and he's famous for being an entertainer. Everyone knows that this guy's a famous entertainer. How are you going to say that his business is a criminal enterprise? It doesn't make any sense. And you're going to prove it's a criminal enterprise? Now, if they would have said, hey, he did some criminal things, that's one thing. But to say his business itself is a criminal enterprise does not add up. And they failed to prove that. And it didn't even seem like they tried to prove it. This is the issue with the feds, with their case, not the feds themselves, but the case itself, is that they're saying that the Combs company was a criminal enterprise. But guess who they didn't call to the stand? Most of the people who worked inside of this alleged criminal enterprise, they didn't call most of them to the stand. Diddy's main right-hand woman assistant, her name is Christina Coram. She never got called to the stand. Her name got mentioned a bunch of times, and people were speculating, is she going to get called? Are they going to call her? Are they going to call her? They never called her to the stand as a witness. If they're really trying to prove that Diddy was running a criminal enterprise, why would you not call the actual person who was closest to the person you're saying is running the enterprise to testify and prove that it's a criminal enterprise? They never even called her to the stand. They didn't call. There were several Diddy assistants that many of you may even know of because their names been mentioned for years. Harv Pierre was one of Diddy's right-hand men. Been working with Diddy since the 90s, this guy named Harv Pierre. Why didn't they not call him to the stand to prove that, yeah, y'all were doing criminal stuff? What about D-Rock? This is one of Diddy's basically bodyguards, I guess, for lack of a better term. He was one of Big's men from back in the day. Been around Diddy the entire time. He did a stretch incarceration, came out, been working with Diddy ever since. Why'd they not call this man to the stand? If this really was a criminal enterprise, why'd you not call everybody who worked there to prove it? Why'd they do it? Because they weren't really, I'm saying all this to say, they weren't really trying to prove RICO. What they really were doing was just besmirching this man's reputation and hoping to get a conviction based on making him look bad. That's what they were trying to do. And the fact of the matter is it failed. This is one of the reasons why I'm saying that the Me Too, Believe All Women thing is failing, not because of the women involved, actually, not because of the women, but because the feds tried to weaponize it. That's the real challenge that I'm making to it. It's not so much about the women. I know some of you took it as me making it about the women. It's really not. The feds took this thing that we know Diddy did something wrong. We know he beat her in front of the elevator. That one, there's no argument. He beat her in front of the elevator. He admitted it. She knows it happened. It's on video. Everybody saw it. The feds took that, and then they took this concept. They didn't use these terms. They never said these terms. But they took the concept that we all know about these days of Me Too, and they said, look at what this powerful man did to this innocent woman. We have proof that it happened. Now we're going to take this little thing that we can't charge him with because that would be a state level case in California, and the statute of limitations is up. So we have no jurisdiction over that. We're going to take this little piece that doesn't even concern us, and we're going to make it into something bigger, turn it into a RICO case. And we're going to try to take down a powerful man as a symbol to the rest of the world that this is what we can do or what needs to happen to men like this. That's what this whole case was. That's what this RICO case was. That's what I want y'all to understand. The feds were trying to make an example of Diddy through what they saw in that video, and we all saw in the video. Again, that's not their jurisdiction. That's the state of California's jurisdiction, not the federal authority. It's not the Department of Justice's call. But they took that piece and they tried to extrapolate it into something bigger to get Diddy, and they failed to get him. So the very thing they were trying to do failed. That's the point. And now I believe they set the whole movement backwards. If you want to ask me, and you are asking me because you're watching this, they set the whole movement backwards by doing this because they made the charge bigger than it should have been. They should have just kept it at fewer things, and I think they would have had a better chance. I believe that had they not had the RICO charge and they just would have had the transportation and the what was the other one? The transportation and the prostitution charge, just 4 charges or maybe even 2. They might have gotten a conviction on that because what happens is you kind of get decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is when you have people make a decision on 5 different things, though they say, all right, we'll give you 2. We're not going to give you all 5. What if they didn't have 5 things? What if they only had 3? They might have got them on all 3 if there were only 3. But the fact that they put all these other things on it, I think played a role in how the jury decided. Because again, jury members this is not like some AI bot. These are humans. I think they overdid it. I think they overdid the charge and they hurt themselves by overdoing the charge. Now, beyond a reasonable doubt, they did not prove. I don't think they proved anything personally, but the jury said that they did. This illegal transport for sexual activity, I don't think they really proved that. I don't think they really proved it because, again, these men were involved, actively involved, wanting to be involved. And Cassie there was enough reasonable doubt. In a criminal case, you must prove your point beyond a reasonable doubt. Let's just call that 95%. You got to prove 95% to 5% that what you say happened. I don't think the feds did that. I don't think they proved it beyond a reasonable doubt. The reasonable doubt doesn't actually have a number. I'm just making that number up. In a civil case, it's more likely than not. That's 51% to 49%. It's very easy to lose a civil case. This is the reason why you see a lot of famous, noted people, when they get charged with a lawsuit, they usually just pay it off and make it go away. First, they try to get it thrown out of court. That's the first thing they try to do, so they don't have to pay. If it won't get thrown out and there actually will be a lawsuit, then they just figure out how to pay it off so that you go away. Why? Because if it actually goes to court, number one, all your business gets aired out to the public. And number 2, you're probably going to lose, especially if you're a powerful, noted person. So this is why there are so many lawyers in the United States of America. There's a ton of money to be made just by suing anybody who has power and status and notoriety. Not limited to people, by the way. You can sue a company. You can sue Amazon. You can sue the healthcare industry. You can sue a doctor. You can sue a hospital. You can sue the job you used to work at. You can sue anybody. And if you can paint yourself as a victim, you got a good chance of winning. More likely than not, you got a good chance of winning. If you can get a good case. This is why lawyers will take these cases, because it's a chance for them to get paid. Because, the lawyers get a percentage when you win. It's a great business to be in. Again, that's why I told you, if you want to guarantee that you always have work, become a doctor or a lawyer. You always have something to do, because there's always going to be unhealthy people, and there's always going to be somebody trying to sue somebody, at least in America, in the United States, that is. So these federal convictions, again, Diddy could get up to 20 years if the judge decides to stack the charges. So what Diddy is convicted of right now, he got convicted on 2 counts. Each of them carries a maximum 10-year sentence, for those of you who don't know. Each count carries a maximum 10-year sentence, which means he can get 10 plus 10. He can get 20 years in prison still right now today with these convictions, the 2 that he has. What I've heard from most experienced lawyers is that they don't think he's going to get that much, number one. Number 2, that the judge is not going to stack them on top of each other. If anything, he will put them together. So basically, he can serve both terms. So the judge, let's say the judge gave him 10 years on each, but he would make them go at the same time. So you serve 10 years total, but you're doing both counts 10 years each. He can do that. The judge has the power to do that. But most lawyers are saying that he's probably not going to get that much. He might get 2 or 3 years. Some say he might not get any. He might just get a year, and he already did a year. Because when you get incarcerated for a criminal charge and you have to sit in jail until the trial, the amount of time that you sat in jail before the trial counts against whatever sentence you get. So if I went to jail right now, I don't want to use myself. I don't want to speak. I don't want to even say this. Let's say Diddy goes to jail last June, which is around the time he did go to jail. And now here we are in July of this year. So let's say he's been in jail for 13 months. And then when the sentencing comes up and the judge says, Diddy, I sentence you to 18 months in jail. Well, he already did 13 months. So that means he only has to do 5 more months and he gets out of jail. And so the sentence is in October. So what's that? October, November, December, January, February. He'll be out of jail by February of next year if he were to get 18 months because he already did 13. And actually by October, he'll have already done, what's it, July? So July, August, September, he'll have done 16. If the judge sentences him to 18, he only has to do 2 more months. So he'll be out of jail by Thanksgiving, out of prison by Thanksgiving. That's the way it works. So some people are saying he's not going to get much. He might get 2 or 3 years. He'll already have done more than a year by the time his sentencing comes up. So he'll be back out pretty quickly. And he might not get any time, or he might get time served. He might get a year. You already did a year. Okay, you're free to go. Thank you, Mr. Diddy, for your time and your respect of the court. It can be over that quick. So it depends on what the judge decides to do. The judge has a lot of leeway in this situation. That's the thing that leaves the we don't know yet. It just depends on what the judge decides to do. Right now, between now and October, Diddy's lawyers are still trying, and this is the whole thing with being a lawyer. A lot of people think being a lawyer is about going to court and arguing like you're Matlock or like Law and Order on TV. That's not what being a lawyer is really about. Being a lawyer is about filing fucking paperwork. It's about filing briefs, filing motions, meeting with the judge behind closed doors, meeting with other lawyers behind closed doors, and working stuff out. Most court cases do not go to trial. For those of you who don't know, most court cases do not go to trial. Most court cases get solved before the trial happens by my lawyer talking to your lawyer, us talking to the judge if it comes to that, and we settle it that way. That's usually how the court cases happen. Good thing about being a lawyer is that you get paid anyway, no matter how you settle the case. Whether you go to court, whether you go to trial or not, you're getting paid. You're getting paid by the hour, no matter what you're doing. So Diddy's lawyers right now are trying hard to keep filing motions, which is basically official paperwork that they send to the judge about why the judge should either A, sentence Diddy sooner, or B, let Diddy out of jail before the sentencing. They're trying to speed up this whole process, either get him out of jail until sentencing or have sentencing happen now. And they're making their case for why he should get less time than whatever they think the judge is thinking about giving. And when it's time for sentencing, they all get to make a statement. So when it's time for sentencing, here's what you're going to see. This is going to happen in October. If it happens in October, you're going to see the feds, all those lawyers. They're going to, and I need to make another point about the lawyers too, the feds lawyers. I'll come back to that in a second. So you're going to see all the feds lawyers make a case for why Diddy should get a whole lot of time in jail. They're going to argue that he should get a lot of time. This is right before the judge says, here's how much time you get, Diddy. So before the judge announces it, they get to say, here's why he should get a lot. Then the defense team, they're going to say, here's why he should get a little bit or none. Then you're going to get things filed by all those witnesses who testified against Diddy. They're all going to say why Diddy should get more time. They may even get to give statements. Cassie's lawyer is definitely guaranteed going to say something about, not say something, but file a letter or something like that. Why Diddy should get more time. So it's going to be all these people arguing why Diddy should get a whole lot of time. And then it's going to be Diddy's lawyers arguing why Diddy should not get a whole lot of time. That's all going to happen when sentencing happens. And then after all that, the judge says, Diddy, here's what you get. And the judge pretty much has final call on this. The judge decides all this. That's the situation right now. I told you I was going to mention the feds lawyers. The feds lawyers are all white females. Now, why does that matter? It matters because, number one, I'm not a fan of the race hustler. I talk about race hustlers all the time. If you listen to my material, follow me on X on social media. I'm a big non-fan of the race hustler. I don't like the race hustlers. I don't like when people take a racial or not a racial situation, a situation that has nothing to do with race, but they turn it into a racial situation by making it about race. So a situation where, let's say there's a black person and a white person having a disagreement over, your hedges are on the wrong side of the property line or something like that. It has nothing to do with actual race. It just happens to be a black person and a white person having a conflict. That's not a racial engagement. They just happen to be different races. But then what someone will do is see that situation and they'll turn it into a racial situation just because the races happen to be different and there happens to be a conflict. And I call those people race hustlers. There's a whole industry based around this. There's a lot of money to be made in that industry. I'm not a fan. At the same time, if I'm Diddy's lawyer, and they did this, by the way, if I'm Diddy's lawyer, I would point out the fact that Diddy is a successful black man who has built a successful business in the United States of America and made a name out of himself. And here we have the federal government, forget about the lawyers, but just the federal government trying to bring down a successful black man. Would I use that angle in court? Yes, I would. I would absolutely use that angle in court. Why? Because it works. It's a victim angle, and it works. And my job as a lawyer, if I'm a defense attorney, my job is to get my defendant to beat the case, period. That's my only job. My job is not necessarily being objective. My job is not necessarily being fair. My job is not necessarily abiding by my personal code of conduct. My job is to do what is necessary to help my defendant win the case, because that's how I make my money. My job is to win cases. So if Diddy came to me and said, Dre, I need you to defend me in court. I'm not a lawyer, but if he did, I need you to defend me in court based on this, and use whatever angle you can come up with. Would I use here's the government trying to take down a black man angle? Absolutely. Of course I would use it. I would be a fool not to use it. And the Fed's lawyers was a whole bunch of white women. Did that help the Fed's case? No, it didn't. It hurt their case, as far as I'm concerned. That hurt their case. So you got a whole bunch of white women arguing what is essentially a domestic violence case against a successful black man. Bad look by the Feds. What the Feds should have did was get a couple men, black or white, on the side of their legal team. They should have got some men on that legal team. It was a bad idea to have all of them be women. They should have had like half men, half women. Doesn't even matter if they were black or white, because then it will look more objective. And this is what y'all got to understand about anything that happens, anything that's political. And the courtroom is political, by the way. Y'all think the court is just blind justice? If you think the courtroom is blind justice, please don't ever end up at trial or in any way stand in front of a judge. The courtroom is not blind justice. As Dan Kennedy famously said, if you want justice, you go to a whorehouse. You want to get screwed, go to a courthouse. And the court is not blind justice at all. Optics matter, and they matter a lot. How you look, how things feel, how you're coming across plays a huge role. So any of you ever saw the movie called The Social Network? This movie is old. It came out, it ain't that old, but 2010, 11. Y'all remember that movie, The Social Network? It was a movie about Mark Zuckerberg and the starting of Facebook. And what it illustrates is who started Facebook, who helped, and it comes down to, at the end, the Winklevoss twins, these two guys, these two twins who played, I believe they played lacrosse at Harvard, whatever school Mark Zuckerberg was at. They claimed that they played a big role in starting Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg claimed that they did not play a role in starting Facebook. So the Winklevoss twins sued Mark Zuckerberg. This is a civil case, not a criminal case. They sued Mark Zuckerberg for some money because when Facebook took off, he didn't want to pay them money, and he was claiming they didn't play as much of a role in the starting of the company as they said they did. So at the end of the movie, this is the part I want you to get. Mark Zuckerberg is talking to this woman who's like a jury analyst. So what she does is she sits in court and she looks at the way the court case is being tried and the way people are arguing and what people are testifying. And she pays attention to the jury, and she not decides, but she shares her insight as to how she thinks the jury is leaning just based on what she's witnessing in court. And at the end of the movie, Mark Zuckerberg, the character who plays Mark Zuckerberg, is talking to the jury analyst. And the jury analyst she tells him, this is what I do for a living. I analyze juries, I analyze trials, and I tell people what I think is going to happen based on the way that the court case is playing out. And here's what she says to Mark Zuckerberg. She says, you, Mr. Zuckerberg, are coming off as very arrogant. You're coming off as very cocky, and you're coming off as unlikable. And because of this, you're probably going to have a judgment against you. So what I would suggest you do is that you settle out of court and just pay these guys off, because if we go to trial, you're going to have to pay them more money than if you just settle out of court. And that was basically the end of the movie. He decided to pay them and settle out of court instead of going to trial, because he was smart enough to take good advice that you're coming off optically, you're not coming off well, you're not going to win this trial. One of the reasons that Diddy got 2 counts instead of 5 counts is because optically this case came off as the Feds doing too much. That is my theory. I don't know that to be true. I wasn't on the jury. Came off as they were trying to do too much. You got these 2 girls who admitted to being in a relationship with him, admitted to being in love with him, literally in love with him. Not, I was pretending to be in love. They were in love with this man. What you wanted, whatever your opinion about the relationship is irrelevant. They said they were in love with him. They were actively engaged in these things that look crazy, not illegal, but look crazy as far as the sex parties and all that stuff. And then you got All these witnesses who came and testified against him, Diddy didn't call a single witness. All these witnesses testified against him. You got all these white women prosecutors trying to go at him. This the weight of the federal government, the Department of Justice, all against one successful black man in America. Optically, this did not look good for the feds. And Diddy's lawyers did a good job, and they were smart to call it out. They didn't make a big deal about it, but they pointed it out. You heard it. And they didn't call any witnesses. So it looks like the whole world against Diddy. That's what it looked like. And in the United States of America, just human beings in general, people love an underdog story. Diddy, through his lawyers, expertly made himself look like an underdog in this case. If any of you really think about it, he did it successfully. He made himself look like the underdog with everybody against him, even though the case was trying to argue that he was the one brutalizing everybody else. They flipped it. It looks like the feds are just trying to get him. And again, they were trying to get him, but they just chose the wrong thing to get him on. That was the mistake that they made. Could he have been found guilty of something? Yes. Not what they charged him with. They went too far. And in going too far, they overplayed their hand. That's what happened in this whole situation. Now, the judge gets to make the final call as to what actually happens here. Is Diddy going to get time in jail? Is he going to get to walk free? He could go. It could be a lot of years. It could be a little bit of years. It could be no years. We'll see. Now, is Diddy going to be able to go do more business again? I think eventually he will. Interestingly enough, I think if he walks out of there, let's say he gets time served. He gets a year, time served, he's out. He walks out of jail in October or walks out of the courtroom in October completely free. I think Diddy will get back to doing business. I think eventually he will do some business. What do y'all think? Y'all think Diddy will be able to do business again? Like brand deals, marketing partnerships. Y'all think Diddy will be able to do that kind of stuff? You think you'll see Diddy in a commercial ever again? You think you'll see Diddy do a brand deal with a big company ever again? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no if he gets out of jail. We're assuming he gets out. If he gets out, let's say he gets a year, he already had time served, he walks out of the courtroom in October, and he's free to do what he wants. Do you think Diddy will ever do another brand deal or corporate sponsorship where a corporation is going to say, we're standing next to this dude, he's going to endorse our product? Do you think that will ever happen again? So I'm seeing a couple of no's. I'm seeing a whole lot of yeses. And some are saying, Big Sam says, yes, because it's about money, not feelings. Maybe. But the thing is, with corporate America, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with corporate, because in corporate, when they do a deal with a person, people are going to look at the person and they're going to say, oh, how you doing the deal? Coors Light, you're doing a deal with this person. This person's bad. This person said this and they did this. How could you do a deal with them? And the corporation is going to have to figure out how they respond to that, because they're going to get blowback for doing that deal. So if you do a corporate sponsorship with someone who has, for whatever reason, they got a challenge to their reputation, you got to be able to answer for that. They got to figure out what they're going to say if they choose to do business with Diddy. So Barbara said, Diddy can retire. Yeah, he can retire, but you got to understand something, Barbara, is that people like Diddy don't just go away. They don't just disappear. That's the whole thing. They don't just disappear. If that was the case, again, he wouldn't have been doing the stuff he's been doing for the last, when's the last time Diddy put out music that mattered? It's been more than 10 years. But Diddy was still on the scene doing stuff. Why? Because people like him do stuff. Do y'all know who he is? How did he get to where he's at? He didn't get to where he's at by looking for ways to relax. He got to where he's at because he doesn't stop. I mean, so he put out a movie called Can't Stop, Won't Stop. That's who he is. He's going to get active again if he gets out. If he gets out, he will be active again because he can't stop being active. It's not about the money for people like him. He makes money, but it's not about the money. For him, it's about the activity, the movement, the impact. That's who he is as a person. And he's said this out of his own mouth. So while you're correct, he can retire. Again, why isn't he retired? Because it ain't about retiring. Bill Gates can retire. What's he doing? Turning poop into water? Isn't that what Bill Gates is doing? Something like that. Elon Musk can retire. What's he doing? He's working in the government with Donald Trump. Why is he doing that? He got the money. Jeff Bezos can retire. What's he doing? These people don't retire for a reason. They don't retire because they didn't get in the game to make money. They did get in the game to make money, but they didn't. They got in for other reasons. So we'll see what the judge actually ends up doing. But I think Diddy's going to do business again. Diddy will do business again. Kimmy said grassroots projects. Diddy's not a grassroots kind of guy. He don't need to do grassroots projects. Diddy is world famous. That's a world famous brand name. Why would he do grassroots projects? He'd be limiting himself. So we'll see what he ends up doing here. I think Diddy also might appeal. depending on how much time he gets, depending on how much time Diddy gets, even if he gets no time, I think Diddy's lawyers, actually, I don't think, I can pretty much guarantee you, his lawyers are going to appeal the convictions. They're going to try to get these convictions overturned because you don't want that on you don't want a federal conviction on your reputation, on your name, even though Diddy's like 55 years old. So, I mean, what does it matter? Some of you might be thinking. I think he's going to try to get those convictions overturned just so he can keep his record clean, his name clean. Because when you're that level of famous, people will use anything and everything against you. So, again, y'all want to see some made-for-TV stuff? Wait till the sentencing. Y'all want to see some made-for-TV material? Wait till Diddy's sentencing. Unfortunately, it will not be on TV. They can't put it on TV simply because it's a federal thing. It's a federal courthouse, so you can't bring cameras in there. But y'all should definitely come to this live stream the day after that happens because there's going to be a whole lot to talk about when they have that sentencing. Guaranteed. That one, I promise you. So let's see what we got going on in the comments. Let's get to the comments here. Didn't see anything over there. Let's see what we got on IG. Then we coming over to you folks on TikTok. I think I need to take a bathroom break before we do that. And Mr. C said, I think we need Diddy out right now. Mr. C, I don't know if you meant Diddy out as in out of jail or out as in out of being free. Which one did you mean? Mr. C said, working lady of the day, 2 p.m. Well, it doesn't mean she couldn't be in the gym. It's just that 2 p.m. is usually pretty quiet time in the gym. I think she was in there because she was trying to avoid attention. I just happened to be in there at the same time. Also, 2 p.m. in the afternoon in the gym, depending on where you are. In Miami, it tends to be a time when a lot of gay guys go to the gym. Not for nothing. I'm not saying I'm not gay, but I noticed that as well. When I would go to the gym around 2, 3 in the afternoon, it seemed like all the gay dudes came to the gym at that time. So I don't know if that's some internal conversation that they have. I don't know. But I did notice that. Maybe that's why she was in there, so she could avoid attention. Crespo says she probably has diseases from this lifestyle. She might have testified about that. They talked about that she might have gotten a UTI at some point. She did mention that, actually, Crespo. She did mention at one point she had either had a UTI or a yeast infection, or if a yeast infection is a UTI. She did mention that. Crespo said there are beautiful women that didn't need to do this, but yeah, that seems logically to make sense, Crespo, but sometimes the most beautiful women will be doing the craziest things that you wouldn't think they would do. So both of these women crazy on some level. So let me take a quick restroom break. This is only going to take me 90 seconds, folks. Sit tight. Quick restroom break. I can't even play my own podcast because I used to play you a clip from my podcast. I keep getting warnings from TikTok. You can't play published material or something like that. So I can't play anything. If I play music, they're going to give me a warning. I play my own damn podcast, they'll give me a warning. So I can't play anything. So y'all just sit here for 90 seconds, talk amongst yourselves. 90 seconds, we'll be back, and I'm going to get the comments. All right, let's get it. Please like the live. Let's get up to 70,000 likes. TikTok, it is your time. You are on the clock now. We got a little over 30 minutes here to get through the comments. So let's see what we got going on. Please like the live if y'all watching on TikTok. By the way, I'm responding to comments from oldest to newest. I can only go so far as for the oldest. So I'm just reading the ones that I can see. There's a lot of comments in here. Nothing personal if I don't read your comment. So Legion of Room said, of course, not y'all have morals? Okay. Vivian said, hell no, you wouldn't sign up for the Diddy lifestyle, the Cassie lifestyle, I guess. Jorby said, to be honest, yes, it is a change of status and lifestyle. Okay, so we're getting some honest people here. It doesn't mean y'all not honest if you said no, but we're getting some people to say they would sign up for the Diddy lifestyle. They would live the Cassie lifestyle and do the freak offs in exchange for the money. Row says, none of the men you are speaking about have won accusations is years, sometimes decades of them. Yes. And that what we can say, there can be a bandwagon effect to these kind of things. So Diddy had one accusation. And even with someone like R. Kelly, Weinstein, you take someone, Conor McGregor had one, Bill Cosby, Russell Simmons, is that when one person comes forward, then other women say, oh, well, you know what? I had a situation with that guy too. Let me jump in it. And not for nothing, just to keep it real, is that when a man of that status gets, let's say, sued, let's say, who's a man who's been known to date a lot, let's say Derek Jeter, the baseball player, gets sued by one woman who said he did them wrong. Well, you know what happens is the lawyer that filed that lawsuit, what he does is he sends out a bat signal to all the other women who have dated that same man. And he says, hey, we're about to sue this dude. We know he got a lot of money. If you want to get paid, you better call me and let's make it happen. And we can build up momentum against this guy and sue him. And other women will come out of the woodwork who maybe weren't even thinking about doing anything like that. They wouldn't have come forward and done it on their own volition. But when they see that the floodgates are open, and this dude's pocketbook and his checkbook are open, hey, I might as well get paid. Let me go make a claim too. So I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but can that play a role? Absolutely, it can. So let's not act like just because someone has a bunch of accusations means that they are necessarily more guilty because they got 20 as opposed to if they had 10, as opposed to if they had one. Because you get the bandwagon effect. And this is the way it works in life. This is the way human beings operate. When a human sees somebody else doing something, then the next person is more likely to follow. And when 10 people are doing it, person number 11 is more likely. And when 100 people are doing it, person number 101 is more likely. If nobody's doing something, the person who goes first, that's the one that actually takes some courage and some initiative. But if everybody's already doing it, then it makes sense to just be the next one to do it. Nick said, too many free calls from me. Yeah, he might wear you out. Sabrina said, yes, you must be into the lifestyle. Well, if you're into it, you're into it. Juanita said, hell no, that's selling your soul. Okay, some say. Fair enough. Ruck said, they saying no now, but most females would do this. Nick said, nope, and then expect him to marry me? No, I don't think Cassie was expecting Diddy to marry him. Courtney, good morning. Good to see you. Cassie said, if I was that good looking, I could find a better man to provide. Well, Casa de la Rosa at the level of Diddy? Could you find a man at the level of Diddy? And also, Casa de la Rosa, let's think about this. Casa de la Rosa. I'm glad you brought up this point, because the man that Cassie got with while she was with Diddy and he saved her and ended up marrying her, he didn't have nothing. So she went from 100 to zero. Why would she do that? I mean, she couldn't find a man who was making $250,000 a year as a corporate executive or something like that. She couldn't find that. She went straight from a dude who had everything to a dude who had not literally nothing, but pretty much nothing. They moved into her. Both of these people are like 30 years old. When Cassie broke up with Diddy, she was like 30, probably something like that. And dude was probably somewhere around her age. They're like 30 years old. Two people, 30 years old, not enough money to have a place to live. They moved into her parents' house. That's what she went from Diddy to that. Why would she do that? She couldn't find somebody in between. She couldn't find a man making $100,000 a year. I mean, it's Connecticut. It ain't like she's living in a damn San Francisco Bay or Manhattan. She couldn't find a dude making $100,000 and get an apartment. So you tell me. I think that's a reflection of the type of person that she might be. That you see someone, they look a certain way. You're like, okay, well, based on how you look, well, I would expect this, this, and this. But then you look at the results and you see something different. J. Cole said, the things you have to do is horrible. Well, okay, for the right price, it might not be that horrible. J. Day said, these women lying. Shorty said, no, but I know women who would have for the money. Yes, I do too. And Damien says she was picking the escorts. Yes, she was. She was picking and choosing them too. Elena said, mental and physical cost, not worth it. Okay, I understand. Amaral said, money is a very persuasive weapon. That is true. Ruck said, they all go by, but I think 95% of females will do it. How do you think R. Kelly and all? Well, R. Kelly was finding chicks that were, what R. Kelly was doing was finding girls based on, he was using his leverage of, I'm going to get you signed to a deal, and then he would start playing his game. R. Kelly's situation was a little bit different because he had a bunch of randoms, but at the same time, it was the same because he was mind controlling them, at least according to the documentary. Now, R. Kelly has said that the documentary is not true, but I think a lot of people believe it to be true. I watched that Surviving R. Kelly documentary, and yeah, it's scary what he was doing because he would just start mind controlling these chicks, and he had the greatest lure. The lure was, I'll help you with your singing career. So it was a great lure what he was using. But R. Kelly also, if you watch that documentary, R. Kelly was abused as a child. Sharon said, no, because I have morals and money, not everything. I believe you, Sharon. And there are many women out there who wouldn't do it for any amount of money. Chelsea said they were young and easy to manipulate. No, they weren't that young. Women are conditioned to say yes for a lot of things. Chelsea, I don't know about that one. I can't go with that. I think this has a whole lot to do with the character of the woman. How old was Cassie when she met Diddy? 19? There are 19-year-old women out there walking the streets today who would not say yes to that offer from Diddy. They would not do that. They would take the offer of sign to my label, I'm going to help you put your album out. But if it started to go into other stuff, they would draw a line and say, Diddy, no, I'm not doing it. Like, no, it ain't the amount of money you can offer me that I'm doing that, because they have principles and they were raised by a mother and or father who taught them, like, there's a line here. No matter, there's nothing nothing that can be offered to you to go along across the line of this principle. So them being young is not a good enough explanation, because there are 19-year-olds who would never go for this. And women are conditioned to say yes for a lot of things. Well, I get the direction of what you're saying, but in the world that we're living in today with feminism, I don't think there's as many women conditioned for yes as there used to be. Shaky said, Diddy had to find women who wanted to do that. He had BM that wouldn't do it. Good point. Yeah, his baby moms wouldn't even live these lives, but these girls did. That's the whole point. That's what I'm saying. Diddy just made a mistake and picked the wrong girl. That's what Diddy did wrong. He picked the wrong girl. Diddy was talking to me one-on-one and said, Joey, where I mess up here? I said, you picked the wrong girl. You shouldn't have picked Cassie. You should have went straight to Daphne. You would have been good. Daphne is just straight submissive. He would have gotten away with this with her. Actually, with Daphne, he wouldn't have had to. According to the court testimony, the only reason he was beating up Cassie in front of the elevator is because they were having a freak off and she was trying to leave the freak off. See, Daphne wouldn't have left the freak off. She would have just stayed in the hotel room. See, then he wouldn't have to chase her and beat her up. The only reason he had to chase Cassie and do something to her is because she was trying to get away from doing what he wanted her to do. And see, with the straight submissive woman, she wouldn't have been trying to get away. She would have just stayed there and did it. So that was Diddy's mistake. So Diddy, he has to own that. XTR said they loved him and they would do anything for him. Yeah, that's what they said. Legion said Cassie established her persona to Diddy by being a willing participant. Oh, absolutely she did. Which is why this case he should have been not guilty on everything. Sandra said people doing shit for free, so people are speaking lies. If I didn't have to do the D rugs, hurt people. So Sandra, you're saying people be doing stuff. You're saying like the stuff that Diddy was doing, they do it without getting paid. So they might do it. So they would definitely do it for money. If that's what you're saying, Sandra, then I definitely agree with that. Jeff said $10K per month. Yeah, that's what he was paying for rent for Daphne. And she testified that on court. Testified that on the stand. Jack said many men's downfall choosing the wrong one. Yes, it was almost Diddy's downfall. It might still be his downfall. If he gets 20 years, I would call that a downfall. Because he's already 55. GF said, pretty is an understatement. Daph is fine. Yes, she is. Fair enough, GF. Roro said, so you are saying, so you are saying, let's see. Roro says, so you are saying, rather than not harming a woman, he should have harmed an easier woman to harm? Okay, so Roro, you have gotten the Straw Man of the Day award. Congratulations. Straw Man of the Day to Roro. Often when someone starts a comment with, so you are saying, especially when they are actively disagreeing, what follows is usually the logical fallacy called the straw man. The straw man is when you take something that somebody said, you rephrase it into something that they did not say that is often easier to attack or ridicule or to make fun of or to just feign incredulity at, and then you represent it as your form of what they said, i.e., a straw man of my comment, and then you argue against the straw man. Or you present the straw man to me to get me to answer a question of rephrasing something that I didn't actually say. So Roro says, am I saying rather than not harming a woman, he should have harmed an easier woman to harm? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he should have picked a woman who was completely submissive and would have went along with everything he wanted to do to the point that there would be no need for the fighting because she would have been completely okay with everything that was happening. Like Jane, the other star witness in the case, i.e. Daphne. She was okay with all of it. She testified because she got subpoenaed to testify, but generally she was okay with it. And if Diddy gets out of jail tomorrow, she's going to be at Diddy's house tomorrow night. So all Diddy did was pick the wrong woman. Not the wrong woman to harm, the wrong woman to go along with what he wanted. Understand that, speaking of Diddy used to have a person who was signed to his label named Mace. Y'all remember Mace, the rapper, M-A$E? Mace had a funny but a strangely popular song back in the late 90s called Jealous Guy. Remember that song Jealous Guy where Mace and Diddy were basically singing? And the song was bad and good and super popular all at the same time. It was all three things. It was bad, good, and super popular. And at the end of the song, Mace is talking. And one of the things that Mace said, he said, I'm going to give you the 4 pimp rules. And one of the things that he said was that what that girl ain't willing to do, you got 100 more girls more than willing. And that's the point that I'm making about Diddy. So what Cassie decided she didn't want to do anymore, or that she claims she never wanted to do in the first place, there are 100 girls out there that would have not only been willing to do it, would have continued to do it, happily done it, and would have got on the stand and testified that, yes, I enjoy doing this and I'm going to keep doing it when I get off the stand. Tonight we're going to do another one when we get out of here. So that's what I'm saying. Diddy just picked the wrong girl. Jeff said Diddy did not make his money doing freak-offs. Yeah, I know, but those are not crimes. So he shouldn't have been in court for freak-offs. Mademoiselle said they didn't call the SW from the hotel incident. What's SW? What's the SW? What are you talking about? They called the security guards. The guards who were working there did testify. And I don't think they ever called I don't know if they called the police. I don't think they did. There was a other worker. Yeah, he testified. I believe he did testify. But he didn't see what happened out there. All he saw was what was happening in the room, because Diddy runs out the room. Cassie runs out the room. Diddy runs out the room. Diddy beats her, brings her back to the room, and the dude was in the room the whole time. So he didn't see anything that happened in the elevator. So he probably didn't even know that Diddy did that. Terry said Gene Deal. Yeah, I've seen Gene Deal's interviews. Mademoiselle said they were visibly upset. Who? Who was visibly upset? Star Will said men accused him too. Accused who? And accused him of what? Rich said, good, you cannot believe all women. No, you can't. You can't believe all men either. Jeff said the end results of the RICO charge is confiscation of his wealth. If it depends. So, Jeff, it depends on if the RICO can prove that he made money doing the things that he was doing. So his wealth was never, or his money, let's just say his money was never in jeopardy because they were not claiming that he made money doing this stuff. They were claiming, because according to everything that got testified, he spent money. Diddy was spending money, not making money. He was spending money on escorts, spending money on travel, spending money on boxes of baby oil and all this shit that he was doing. He wasn't making money. He was spending money. So the only way the RICO can confiscate your money is if they prove that you made your money doing the thing that you were doing criminally. But there was nothing in this case, not even from the feds, that said Diddy was making money doing this, which is why, again, the RICO charge was a terrible idea. Because how are you saying that his business is a criminal enterprise when he ain't even making no money? He spent a lot more money than he made from all the stuff that they charged him with. So how is this a criminal enterprise? It was a terrible charge. It was just a bad idea. No matter what way you slice it, it was just a bad idea. User said this is a state case, not federal. Well, no, it depends on what part of it you're talking about. The domestic violence would be state, but the statute of limitations is up and no charges were ever filed. Easy said, will KK be charged at all? I highly doubt it. Battle tested congruent, so they'll run concurrent. We'll see. Exact revenge credit. Well, he will get credit time served if he gets any time. He might not even get time. So we'll see how much time he gets, if any. Michelle said that's why a judge denied bail to give him a full year when sentencing comes. Okay, interesting theory. We'll see. Battle said county time is doubled up. Okay. Murphy the Mutt said judge should have given him a bail. Well, the bail would have been back at the time that he got arrested. They denied him bail then. He fought for it. They tried very hard to get bail back then. Right now, he would post some type of bond that is basically a guarantee I'll come back for the sentencing. And they said no. Drifted here said King Diddy beat the government, social media, TMZ, Diageo, Netflix, Me Too, and the feminist movement. Almost. So drifted here. I drifted here. Don't celebrate yet. What you said would be true if he ends up not getting any time. If he walks out of that courtroom in October, then you say this again. When I do my live in October, you post the same comment again. So just copy and paste this and save it somewhere on your phone. But it's too early now. If that judge gives him 20 years, then what you just said wouldn't be true. Jeff said Diddy needs to sell his houses and call Russell Simmons. No, not really. I think he's in a better space than Russell Simmons because Diddy might be free after he walks out of courtroom in October. This might be it. This might be the whole thing. So I think he's in a better place than Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons can't come back because now if he comes back, everybody's going to say, well, he was hiding, and that's going to work against him. Optically, it works against him. I drifted here said, in America, everything is racial. Well, if you make it that way, people will buy into it. That's true. I don't think everything's racial, but if somebody tries to make it racial, most people will accept that frame. Tina said 2 twins would be 4 people. It is a set of twins. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're referring to. Airball said Diddy went too far. No, he didn't. He didn't go too far. Jeff said I give it a 50-50. Well, Jeff, a 50-50 is not really an answer. I was asking a yes or no question. You just stand on the fence. XTR said yes, but his parties may not be well attended. Well, I don't think he may not throw a party at first. What you do at first is you come out quietly, you test the waters and see how people are feeling about you. And then you slowly just come more out. And then slowly the audience just warms back up to you. America as a society is a very forgiving society. So once someone has paid their debt to society, this is going to be emphasized when it comes to someone like Diddy. Once someone pays their debt to society, people pretty much are willing to forgive if you come out and you show maybe some level of contrition and you start doing things that people want again. Look at Tiger Woods. Remember Tiger Woods had the whole scandal of cheating on his wife and he was messing with all these random girls at Perkins restaurants and all these things that he was doing. And people were trashing him for about a year or so. And then he got his body back in shape because he was injured from playing golf. He got his body back in shape. He got back on the golf course and he started winning golf tournaments. And people forgot all about that scandal because he started winning again. So it's the same thing with Diddy. This is the way it works in America, is that your name can be in the mud. You go out and people are trashing you. You disappear. You come back and you start succeeding. People will forget about all the stuff they were trashing you for if you start winning. This is a result. Life is a results-based business. If you go win, people will deal with you again. So Monica said no brand deals but more music. Well, Diddy ain't really made music for like 10 years. I like Diddy's music. At least I like Puff Daddy's music. Diddy, I didn't really like. I like Puff Daddy's music. If he gets back to Puff Daddy, then I'll listen. He should make a No Way Out Part 2. His first album is called No Way Out. He should make another version of that, which he was teasing that he was going to do, but he never did it. He did that, I will listen to it. As far as... But Puff Daddy, I mess with. So, and as far as brand deals, he will absolutely get a brand deal if he's out there winning. If Diddy's out there winning and doing things that move money, he will get a brand deal. Guaranteed. But we got to see if he can do it first. Punky said, any brands that Diddler is part of will be time to boycott. That's what everybody's calling him now, Diddler. Well, maybe you and people who think like you will boycott, but a lot of people will buy it. XTR said body oil company will pick him up. They should. Johnson & Johnson, this is what they should do. Now, this is all assuming that corporate America had balls. They don't, so this is not going to happen. But it would be really funny if, let's say, Diddy beats the case, and the next day he's got a big Johnson & Johnson commercial, or he got a big billboard in Times Square of Diddy promoting Johnson & Johnson baby oil. That would be really funny, and a lot of people would get the joke and laugh at it. Like people like me, I would get that and laugh at it. But half of you who are listening to me right now would be really pissed off if they did that. That's the reason why they won't do it. They won't do it because they can't afford pissing people off. Now, if they were a private business and they weren't a publicly traded company, that someone absolutely should do that. A private baby oil business should call Diddy the day after he gets out of jail and try to do an ad campaign with him, an influencer campaign around baby oil. Diddy might not even do it because he don't want to piss off his possible corporate sponsors, because the amount of money he could get from that private company is a lot less than the amount of money he could get from a corporate deal. And the thing is, if he does that, then the corporate might say, yo, you're making fun of what happened in that case. We can't have you doing that, so we can't do this business deal with you. So Diddy probably wouldn't do it. But if I ran a baby oil company, I absolutely would call Diddy's people and try to get him to do that ad. He's probably going to say no, but I would try. And the reason he would say no is, again, because if he does that, then corporate is going to look at that and say, we can't touch this dude because he's kind of making fun of something that we can't even act like we're laughing at it. And in corporate America, everything's about optics. It's not about what's actually true objectively. It's about how it looks. So you got the right idea, XTR. I agree with you, but that will never happen. Randy said, no way he will ever get another. I disagree strongly. He will get another deal. If he gets out of jail, he will absolutely have another brand deal within a year. If he gets out of jail in October, by the end of 2026, Diddy will do another brand deal somehow, some way with somebody. Why? Because Diddy's name moves money. We're at 72,000 likes, folks. Can we get the likes up, please? Can we get up to 75,000 likes? Y'all kind of quiet on the likes here today. I understand it's been a week. I've been away, but let's get back to the program. All right, let's get back to the program and get the likes up. Let's get the likes up to 75K, please. The goal, we want to get to 100K by 10 o'clock. We got 13 minutes. Can we get the likes up, please? Please get my likes up on TikTok. I understand y'all might have forgotten what the deal is because I've been away. I was in jail for a week. All right, now I'm Diddy. I'm out of jail. Okay, so let's get back to liking the live. All right, let's get back to liking it. Let's get back to 75. Let's get to 75,000 likes. Carrie Go Get 'em said yes. Martha Stewart did. Yeah, she did. Well, the thing is, Martha Stewart went to jail for some paperwork. She went to jail for a paperwork crime, white collar crime. Diddy might go to jail for something more sinister, and also because of that video. And the video wasn't even part of the charge, but that video is going to hurt him. Leon said, if he walks, can he sue for defamation? I think technically he can. I don't think that lawsuit is going to go anywhere. What he actually is going to try to do is appeal his convictions. That's really what he's going to sue for. Not really suing, but he's going to try to appeal those convictions. But who defamed him? So some of you are saying, no way. I don't think so. Gargatual, his sentence is in October as of today. They're trying to move it up. They're trying to have it happen sooner, but right now it's October. And he has to sit in jail until then. Bill Greenidge said, then again, his reputation has been permanently damaged. He's been thought to be finished before. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why Diddy is Diddy. There are many times people said this guy's done. After B.I.G. passed away, after the gun incident with J-Lo back in the day, which was 25 years ago, all these times people said Diddy was done, and he kept coming back. I mean, this is who he is as a person. His whole thing is making comebacks when everybody thinks that he's done. So any of you who think he's done just because of this case, you have another thing coming. If he gets out, now if he gets 20 years, then he's done. But if he gets out, he will have another brand deal. He will do corporate business again. I can damn near guarantee it. Arise said he can bring customers. Companies will embrace him with strict contracts. Yeah, well, he always has strict contracts. But if he can bring customers, companies will embrace him. You can just leave it right there. That's how business works in America. This is a capitalist society. It is all about the dollar. Diddy knows how to drive dollars. All right, whatever you think about him, nobody can say that's not true. That man makes money move. If you can make money move, people will do business with you regardless. Tiger Woods. I mean, as far as his wholesome image as a family man and a golfer, look what he did to it when he had that scandal about all the girls. He ended up getting all those brand deals back after he started winning tournaments again. Kobe Bryant, remember that? Cheated on his wife whole thing in Colorado? It's almost like it never even happened because when he started winning again, everybody forgot about it. This is how it works in America, folks. If you win, people will forget anything. They'll forget anything they were supposed to remember about you if you win. Winning cures all. Lioness said he may do things behind the scene, but he will never be the face of anything. I strongly disagree. I strongly challenge that theory. Diddy's thing is he's not a behind the scenes guy. He is the face of things. That's the very reason why we're talking about him, because he's the face of things. If he was behind the scenes, we wouldn't even be talking about him. So no, he's not going to do that. Claudia said, the world is forgiving. Many people still identify with him. Well, people identify with his brand. I mean, his brand still stands as what he did outside, because everything that happened here was not business. This was not some out there thing. This is a behind the scenes thing. His private life became public. What he did as a public figure is still what he did as a public figure. So if you like his music, you like his production, you like the songs he did, you like the brands that he represented, those things still happened, whether you like Diddy or not. Now, most people cannot separate what they've seen in this case from his brand. I just happen to be the type of person, I can easily draw lines between these things. So I'm still a fan of Puff Daddy's music. Diddy's music I didn't really like. I like Puff Daddy's music. And his brand image and what he did in his brand and how he was able to leverage a brand and get talented people on his side. Please get the likes up on TikTok, folks. Can we get to 80,000 likes? Y'all getting lazy over here. Is it everybody relaxing because it's summertime? All right, summer is work season. I didn't know if y'all knew this. Summer is work season. Spring is new life. Summer is when you work. Fall is when you harvest. And winter is when we clear out the old for the new. Summer is when you actually work because your energy is the highest. The days are longest. The sun is hot. That's when you work. You work in the summertime, folks. So I know it's July, but please get the likes up. Now we're at 77,000. Can we get to 80,000 likes? Let's get to 80,000 likes, folks, please. I'm wait till we get to 80,000 likes, and I'm going to finish explaining, adding on to and building on what Claudie Del Gregory said here, because this is a good point. Can we get the likes up? Can we get to 80,000 likes, folks? So everybody on TikTok just taps the screen like this for like 30 seconds. Then we'll get to 80,000 likes very quickly. Just tap the screen like this with your finger. Y'all know how to tap the screen. Y'all use your phones all day. Tap the screen. Let's get up to 80,000 likes so I can finish making this point. And by the way, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So today's Friday. I'll be back Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern. We got a lot of things to catch up on during my week suspension. Some things happen we got to talk about. Of course, we'll talk about Donald Trump. We'll talk about Alligator, Alcatraz. We will talk about Epstein file announcement and many other things. All right. Thank you all for getting the likes up. Keep getting the likes up. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't relax. So what I was talking about was with the Kobe Bryant situation, the Diddy situation, Tiger Woods situation, anybody who had their name tarnished because some scandal. If you come back and you do some successful things and you can win, people will forget about that stuff and go back to doing business with you. Why? Because in a capitalistic society, it's all about the money. Diddy can make money move. And what Diddy did as a brand owner and what he did and the image that he created was an image of a person who knows how to orchestrate success. He's not the one doing all the work, but he can get all the talented people, put them in the right places and help them become successful. He helped a whole lot of people become successful. Cassie is known because she was standing next to Diddy, not for her songs. All the artists that Diddy had, all of them are known because they were next to Diddy and he knows how to make people into stars. He made a whole lot of people into stars and he is a star himself. So all of these things means this guy knows how to move a crowd. And when you can move a crowd, you can get a check, period. Barbara said he should appeal. Oh, he will appeal. That's definitely happening. The appeal is guaranteed. I Drifted here said concert in the middle of NYC for free will be legendary. Diddy don't do too much things for free. He didn't get to be Diddy by doing things for free. I get what you're saying. I get your point. Bruce said OJ didn't get endorsement. Yeah, because OJ was only famous for playing football. He had stopped playing football a long time, even when he got his case. OJ wasn't still active. OJ was just a retired athlete. So OJ wasn't doing anything. Diddy is still doing stuff. So it's different. Monty, thank you for the follow. Let's see. I lost my spot here. Someone said Bad Boy Reunion Tour. They already did that. They did it like 10 years ago. Y'all remember that? Where was I? I lost my spot. I'm trying to catch up to where I was in the comments. All right, here I am. So Big Sam said Johnson & Johnson going to use Diddy. They're going to have flavors like Ciroc. Yeah, it would be a good idea. They're not actually going to do it because they're corporate. They're a publicly traded company. It won't happen, but it would be funny if they did. Will CC said they bashed his name. He's not going to have plenty of business after this. No, that's what you think. Everybody bashed Kobe's name and Tiger Woods' name. Look what happened to them. Jeff said UTI and yeast infection, different animals. Okay, but it was one of them that they said they had. So Cassie, I believe, testified that she had one of those during the time of this whole engagement. I don't remember which one. Linda said, what is the name of this show? You talking about this right here? This is just Dre Baldwin streaming on TikTok. But I have a show called Work on Your Game that comes out every day. So, Daniel, I appreciate you. Good to see you here. My show, my actual show, this is a live stream. This is a show too, but I don't have a name for this. Where is this? My show comes out every day. It's called Work on Your Game. You can listen to it for free on Apple, Spotify, your favorite audio apps. Comes out for free. It's called Work on Your Game. Comes out every day. Today's episode was number 3,345. The topic is why today's men are artificially controlled by sex. So this just happens to be the topic I talked about today. Yesterday, I talked about how your identity shapes your behavior. Before that, how to master presence. Before that, how to fast forward your life. Before that, how manifestation works. Before that, things a disciplined man does. Before that, how to utilize Chat GPT right now. Before that, is not that easy. Exactly. Before that, Newton's 3 laws of motion. Before that, how to be a high-value woman, how to be a high-value man. Before that, AI is your employee, not your boss. Before that, why I'm not a politician. So I talk about a whole lot of things on my show. These episodes are about 20 minutes apiece. So you can plug into that Apple, Spotify for free every single day. It's called Work on Your Game. Find it on your favorite apps. Joey said, Trump said Diddy was a good friend. Well, Trump says that about everybody he likes. Joey said, you're assuming the women are lying, though. No, I'm not. I'm not assuming they're lying. I believe they're telling the truth. That they were actively engaged. They were in love with Diddy. And there were times Diddy wanted them to do the parties that they didn't really want to do it, but they did it because they loved Diddy and they wanted to appease him. They all said that themselves. Lil C said Deshaun Watson. Yeah, that was another one where they got a bunch of women to come out the woodwork. Shorty said, what prof are you? What does that mean? Peace Positivity said, do you feel your spirit soul plays role in the mindset? I would say on the surface, yes, but I would have to think about that a little bit more and get more context as to what you mean. Constance said, we all make mistakes, but we don't let it ride for 10 years. Yeah. True Blue said, 100K a year is nothing these days. Is sad. Well, it depends on where you live, True Blue. Go on Zillow and look at some places that you might not think of, and 100K will take you very far. Now, it won't take you far in some big cities, but in many rural areas and suburban areas of America, 100K is great. Macy said, TikTok is freezing like an old record. Yes, I don't never notice the freezes on TikTok. Y'all tell me that, but I don't see it. Shorty says, some women are freak of the week, too. Yes, that's a fact. Paris Bound said, I don't understand the R. Kelly situation because he is illiterate. What does that have to do with it? What does him being illiterate had to do with that? I mean, he did the whole thing by talking, so you don't have to be. I mean, he can make. When you say he's illiterate, what do you mean? He can't read, but he can talk. All right, we know he can sing. But Heck said, fathers need to step up and teach their girls about men. Yeah, well, you got to do that from the beginning. So I don't know what Cassie's situation was. Big Sam said, women love to say age is the determining factor in manipulation. All women can be manipulated. That's a good point. Yeah, you could be 40 and get manipulated. So being 19 does not make you more susceptible necessarily. Brown Skin said, Cassie was 21 when they were first intimate. All right, 21 is an adult. It's Marcy D says, it's a shame you're even saying that. Wow, what did I say? Big Sam is Daphne 50 Cent baby mom? Yes. Bruce said, bruh, you the straw man. What do you mean? J&J Mommy said, yep, I remember that song. Yeah. Sam said, I'm not understanding what this harm is people keep saying took place. Well, the harm, first of all, he beat up Cassie at the elevator. That we all agree that happened. The other harm is people saying it was emotional harm, that he manipulated them emotionally. And because of the emotional manipulation, the women were doing things physically that they really didn't want to do. But because he had such a manipulative mental and emotional hold over these women that they were doing things they really didn't want to do, that now that they have the distance to see, they regret doing what they did, or at least Cassie did. Daphne didn't seem like she regretted it. Seems like Cassie regretted what she did, and that's why she sued him for $30 million. So the harm is mental and emotional, which is intangible, which is very hard to prove legally, was another reason why this is a tough case for the feds to even have a chance of winning, because you're trying to prove something that you can't tangibly prove. See, if I say you beat me up and it's on camera, then I can just show you the camera. I can show you the video. Boom, there's the video. You beat me up. That is tangible evidence. But saying that someone emotionally or mentally manipulated you into doing things that you didn't want to do, but you admit to doing them, and then you're saying, well, I only did it because you manipulated me and you harmed me emotionally, that's it's a very slippery thing to prove, which is why this case was a very tough case to win based on the way that they presented it. So that's what they're doing. Sam said, well, she beat up once. Yes, everything else was down with no harm, no foul. Well, that's the literal way of looking at it. But the whole argument was the manipulation. That's why they brought that woman who was like what was that woman they brought to the trial? She was like an expert in like manipulation of men and domestic violence and how women can be the emotional trauma doesn't show at first and how they can do things they probably wouldn't normally do under emotional trauma. And she testified a lot about that. Brown Skin Girl said the escort said Diddy didn't force Cassie. She was willing. He was just a horrible person. Well, yeah, the escort says she was willing because she appeared to be willing. But her whole argument is I was under his spell. That's the reason why I appeared to be willing, because I wanted to show that I liked it because I was trying to appease him. That's the argument. So that's the whole thing. Tundra said abusers find excuses to be abusive. If it wasn't the freak off, it would have been something else. Well, that's what the woman who testified said. Reed said, can you explain the difference between a Fed and a state RICO? Well, the Fed means you did something that intercrossed state lines. So the Feds only charge you with something if you did something that involved, you did it across multiple states in the United States, then it's a federal case because you were involved in multiple states. If you did something just in one state, no matter what it is, then the state has to charge you. If you did it across states, then the Feds charge you. That's the only difference. So the Feds get jurisdiction if you did something in Florida, then you travel from Florida to Texas to keep doing it. Now it's a federal case. But if you only did it in Texas or you only did it in Florida and you didn't leave the state to do the thing you were doing, then the state has to charge you. Everything else is the same. So O.J. Simpson's case was a state case. Diddy's case was a Fed case. R. Kelly's case was a Fed case because they said interstate. He was traveling between states. And the thing is, the Feds, if they're really trying to get you, they'd rather have a federal case than a state case because the Feds have more resources than any individual state. So they got more tools to use to try to get you. Shorty said, why would you need so much baby oil? Well, somebody like Diddy is not on a need. I don't think he bases his actions on need. I think he bases them on want. Everybody should base their actions on what you want, not what you need. So I don't think you need any baby oil. I don't own baby oil. But if I wanted some, I can go buy some. So I don't need it. I just want it. Summer said, will the freak offs continue? Yes. All Diddy did was go to court. Why would he stop doing freak offs? Well, he ain't doing them now because he's in jail. But if he goes home, well. Brown Skin says security walked Cassie to room to get her things. As she left, she went to her friend's house. Yes, later on. Understand that in the video, you see him dragging her back. That's the whole thing. He dragged her back. Barbara said, I don't think the judge likes Diddy. Well, who the judge likes should not come into play here, but it might. We'll never really know. Brown said the escort in the room was interviewed by Feds. He said Cassie lying. Well, you saw how that worked out. Janice said, is it true that 89 pending civil suits against Diddy, some of them concern criminal? I don't know if any of them going to turn criminal, but does he have a ton of civil suits? Yes. Diddy's going to be going to court for a long time after this. Or his lawyers will be going to court, more likely. Bruce said, I can't believe you condone what Diddy did. Straw man. I'm not even going to point out that one. Event said, Bad Boy Reunion Tour. They already did that. Bad Boy Reunion Tour. I went to it. They did a show in Miami. I went to it. It was in like 2016. So, and most of them people don't want to stand next to Diddy. So much for that. Carla, good morning. Can we get up to 100,000 likes, folks? We're already past 10 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap this up soon. But can we get to 100,000 likes? He got my lighter, said Kobe scored 81. He became cool again. Yeah, that was part of it. Majestic. Yeah, they want. It's a good idea to do that brand deal. It ain't going to happen. Busy Lady said the tainted domestic violence is still fresh in our minds. Yeah, but if he goes out and he wins in some way, it won't matter. The name of my show is called Work on Your Game. You see that book right there? It says Work on Your Game. I think some of you see it backwards, but it's called Work on Your Game. Find it on Apple or Spotify. Brown Skin said he could do another liquor. He could. There's a lot of things he could do. He has a big brand name. There's a lot of things he could do. Janice, I answered your question. Don't spam my comments. Busy Lady said that beatdown is going to be a problem for corporate America. Yes, it is. I don't think it's going to be an insurmountable problem. That's the thing. Linda said, I don't feel like his charges warrant jail time. Well, it's not about the charges, it's about the convictions. The charges already happened. The charges come with a stipulation federally that if you get charged with this, here's the sentence you can get. And there's a lot of leeway for the judge. Brown Skin says some of Tiger's girls were working girls. Yes, they were. The thing is, he was married. That was the problem. It's not that they were working girls. He was married. TYP said Diddy was nothing before this. Are you asking a question? Why are you framing it that way? If you're referring to something that I said Diddy's been pretty quiet musically for the last 10 years, if that's what you're referring to. Let's see. He said, I think he falls back and pushes the kids forward with their ventures. What, his kids? His kids ain't that talented. And Diddy's the star. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to push his kids forward. Diddy is the star. His kids are not stars. They're known because they're his kids. They're known on some level, but they're just not that good. What's the last song you heard from Diddy's son? Isn't Diddy's son supposed to be a rapper? I heard him rap. I don't think he's that good. Frederick Sullivan, thank you for tapping between your sets in the gym. Can we get the 100,000 likes, folks? We're at 95. Brown Skin said it was a UTI. Okay. Mr. Ohio said OJ still did autograph signings. Yeah, so famous retired athletes is one thing they always do, autographs. Derek said, do I think the public will eventually forgive Diddy? Yes, hell yeah. I think there's a lot of people in the public who are already, they're not mad at him. They say, yeah, you shouldn't have beat the girl, but other than that, yeah. I don't think everybody in the public is mad at him. Deanna says, so is it all about money and not morals in corporate America, Deanna, in a capitalist society? Yes. Is this news to you? Did you not know this before today? Yes, it's all about money. Morals are very, relative. Not everybody has the same morals. Brown Skin Girl said Mike Tyson got brand deals, and Mike Tyson. That's another good example. Brown Skin said UTI can lead to a yeast infection. Okay, there we go. So I knew it was some connection. Brown Skin said Mayweather had DV and assault charges. He has brand deals. Yeah, well, see, he had charges. We didn't have a video of him actually doing it. The difference with Diddy is we got it on video of him doing it. That's the difference with Diddy when it comes to the domestic violence stuff. And he said, what's this stuff about the Fed depth clock? It says debt is paid off. No debt is paid off. We're $37 trillion in debt. Am I a lawyer? No, I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on TikTok. I run a company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do is we have taken the professional discipline that helps athletes get to the top 2% in their game. Because my background is actually as a professional athlete. I stopped playing basketball in 2015. So we take the tools to help athletes get to the top of the sports world. And what we've done is created a system to turn that into execution and strategy and performance for professionals and entrepreneurs. So that's what I do. I work with professionals, entrepreneurs, sales teams, companies, etc., on creating a discipline and performance system for improving results and outcomes. So you got a sales team, you want them to do better. You want your people to be more locked in and disciplined in their work, more steady and following the system and the strategy. They call me and we come in and install our process. 100,000 likes. Thank you, everybody, for helping me get the likes up. So I'm not a lawyer, but I know a good amount about some things legally speaking. That's why I'm talking about it like this. Derek said, yes, they will forgive Diddy. That one I answered. So, Brown Skin, I got you. I read that comment already. Mel B said, I feel like he's going to be insufferable when he gets out. Well, if you think he'll be insufferable when he gets out, then you probably think he's insufferable already. I mean, Diddy is Diddy. He's been the same guy for 30 years. So I don't know. What are you expecting different from him? He's been the same guy. He gets out there. He does the little dances. He draws all the attention to himself. And he does. If you like his stuff, then you are a fan. If you don't like it, then you think it's corny. But he's been doing the same thing for 30 years. So I don't think he's going to change anything now. He's 50-something years old. He is what he is. User said, did I get time? What does that mean? Time for what? Solo said, free Diddy. Well, he might. Millionaire Mommy said, first, you are very handsome. Are you talking to me? Thank you. Right on said, how long do I believe Diddy will be in prison for? Well, we know he's going to be in jail until his sentencing. So let's assume that's until October. I think he'll get, I don't know this judge. I say Diddy gets less than, given time served, I say he gets less than 2 years. Overall, I don't think Diddy will be in jail by, so if he gets 3 years, let's say, he already has a year plus served. That would be the rest of 2025, all of 2026. That takes us about 2 years. I think Diddy will be out of jail by January 1st, 2028 at the latest. It might be less than that. I say no more than 3 years total. That he'll be out of jail by January 1st, 2028. And the reason I say that is because he has no prior convictions. He has no prior criminal record. This is a first-time offense. So he shouldn't get that much time just on that alone. The problem is his brand, his reputation, and all the other things that came out in the trial. The judge has leeway to use that other stuff, like him beating Cassie. He can use that as part of his reasoning as to why to give Diddy more time. So for those of you who don't know how the legal system works, he literally can do that. He can give Diddy more time just because you beat Cassie at the elevator, even though that wasn't even the charge. I'm going to give you time just because of that. The judge can do that. So it's hard to gauge. It's hard to guess. But I would say, speaking as an objective person, he should not get more than 2 years. But the judge is a human being, and human beings are not completely objective, even judges. So it's hard to say. Millionaire Mommy, thanks for joining the fan club. Lacey River, good to see you. Zost said, this is all staged to make look the other way. What do you mean? Mommy Millionaire Mommy said, and it is what it is. What does that mean? Well, thank you. Right on. What are you saying wild to? What happened? Lacey said, probably time served. The judge is young, and he's got to show as one thing to his older colleagues. Yes, that's what I heard people say. But again, he might give him a lot of time to make a show of who he is, or he might give him a little time, but he doesn't want to look like he doesn't know what he's doing. So I think Diddy's going to get some time, but not the full boat. He ain't going to get the full boat. Linda said, based on what I have seen, let him out now. Well, based on what I've seen, he should have got out the day they announced the verdict last week. But Brownskin said he won't get 3 years. You believe it'll be a year or 6 months. Yeah, I say less than 3 years total, because the judge can factor in what he's already served. So let's say the judge says you get 3 years. Well, he's already done like a year and a half already. So he would only have a year and a half left. So the judge basically has carte blanche to do whatever the hell he wants to do. This is the reason why none of y'all want to end up in court, because you don't want a judge or a jury deciding what happens with your life. Lacey says something. My phone rearranges sentences. Sabrina said the judge thinks the jury got it wrong, so I believe it will be more. Why do you think that? Why do you think the judge thinks that? Linda said Cassie liked her lifestyle. Well, of course she did. That's why she did it for 10 years. Token said that would be ground for appealing the sentence. Well, they're going to appeal everything. No matter what he gets, they're going to appeal everything. Diddy probably spent $50 million on his lawyers for this case. So they're going to fight everything they can fight. Blonde Ron said, I'm not for Diddy. Okay, fair enough. I'm not for Diddy either. I'm just for what I objectively am recognizing. It's not so much about Diddy. I'm a fan of Diddy / Puffy, the brand and the artist and the entertainer and the businessman. I'm for that guy. As far as what he does personally, I know nothing about it. And I only found out about it because it became public news. I'm just talking about this as an objective observer, what I think should happen and why. Good morning. I'm okay. Blonde said 20 years. He ain't getting 20 years. I don't think so. Max said, can the Feds bring more charges going forward? Well, it had to be new charges. They would have to have something new. I think they already shot their load on this. No pun intended. Pause. They already shot their load on this one. So I think this is pretty much done. And if they tried, then all Diddy's lawyers would do is say, they already came after him once. Now they're just trying to pile things on top of our client and they're trying to bring down the black man. They would just use the same argument again. And this time it would probably work. So I doubt Diddy's going to get double jeopardy with the feds on any charge unless he actually does something different. Brown said, I think whatever time they give him minus time served, his lawyers will appeal and will win. Yeah, well, he's going to appeal everything. Everything that happens will be appealed. So he's already going to appeal these convictions. Whatever time the judge gives him, he's going to appeal that. He's going to appeal everything. You spend $50 million on your lawyers, you better get them to do everything they can possibly do. I'm okay, said. Lights been shut on Diddy. What about Epstein? Well, Epstein's dead. What about him? What else you want to happen? I'm going to talk about the Epstein files. That's coming up next week. So don't worry about that. Any of you wondering what I think about it, we will talk about that. All right. All that said, folks, let's wrap this up. We're 15 minutes over time. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this one, come back tomorrow. If you didn't like this one, come back tomorrow. If you don't like the fact that I, quote unquote, defended Diddy, come back tomorrow. Monday. Come back Monday. If you're not sure what you think about me, come back Monday. If you are still trying to decide, come back Monday. And because you ain't going to have anything else to do, come back Monday. 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday is when I do these lives. You go to the link in my profile, which is workonyourgame.live. I think many of you, good thing I got a case on my phone. I think many of you are seeing this backwards. It's workonyourgame.live. That's a link in my profile. Go to the link in my profile. Get on my email list for free. You get links to all my coaching material, Get links to all of my socials, all of my books that you can get for free are all here on this page. You can learn more about Work on Your Game University. That's where we do our coaching and consulting. You can get my YouTube channel where I put the replays to all of these lives are on YouTube. So if you missed anything, you can watch the replay on YouTube. If you need to reach out to my executive assistant, her name's Marielle. Her email address is right there. If you had a question for me, just send me a DM. My assistant will reply to your DM. Send me a DM. My assistant will get back to you. Get any of my books, programs, courses, etc. That's all at the link in my profile. And I will see everybody Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. So I'll see everybody Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for getting me to 100,000 likes. We are back out of jail. I'll stay out of jail moving forward. We out of here. Have a great weekend.